Chapter 1055. Including the remaining 10 million black astral coins on hand, Xiaochen now had a total of 40 million black astral coins. With such wealth, even an ordinary Emperor Wu would not be as wealthy as him. Without thinking too much, Xiaochen took out secret treasures containing dragon souls one by one and started consuming them, cultivating the blue dragon body nourishing art. Whether he could resolve the problem of 10 years or not depended on this. Otherwise, everything else would be meaningless. After Ziying left, an urgent expression appeared on her face, as she quickly rushed to where her father was in closed-door cultivation. After explaining the purpose of her visit to her father, the true leader of 10,000 Treasure City's 9 Cauldron Pavilion revealed a rare expression of excitement. "You did very well." Ziying smiled and said, "However, 30 million black astral coins will empty out the entire 9 Cauldron Pavilion's savings. We will not be able to do business for a year." "Haha. That's nothing. The profits from the 9 jade strips will be sufficient to push us to the position of the second city lord. Once we become famous, our luck will increase. Furthermore, the headquarters will definitely give you more benefits. You will even have a chance to compete for the next chief position." Ziying's father appeared very excited, speaking a lot in one breath. Ziying found this strange. "This is our internal transaction. Do we have to pay the treasure master's residence according to the usual quota?" The old man's expression froze. Then he said gravely, "The treasure master's identity is mysterious. He has more than just the 10,000 treasure sea market. You better not have such thoughts. Otherwise, if you break the rules and cause the 9 Cauldron Pavilion to be chased out of 10,000 Treasure City, only the chief can resolve this. At that time, your future will be over." "Alright, I understand. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. Take my medallion and go to the treasure pavilion to collect the black astral coins. Also, make sure to give the gifts properly. This person is someone with great luck, and is definitely not simple." As Xiaochen consumed a large number of secret treasures containing dragon souls, his cultivation of the blue dragon body nourishing art advanced at a heaven-defying pace. 6 Dragon Force, 7 Dragon Force, 8 Dragon Force, 9 Dragon Force, 10 Dragon Force. Starting from 5 Dragon Force, Xiaochen advanced rapidly until he reached 10 Dragon Force before stopping. After spending tens of millions of astral coins, Xiaochen finally cleared the last minor hurdle of the first layer of the blue dragon body nourishing art. After breaking through the barrier, the blue dragon body nourishing art would break through to the second layer and condense the blue dragon battle armor, greatly increasing its defense. Xiaochen opened his eyes. His eyes were calm. He had finally reached the horrifying level of 10 Dragon Force with a casual strike. Back in the 9 layers of purgatory, he had seen that ghost race expert rely on his physical body to become a great grandmaster level martial sage. Now he could do it easily. But now it was clear that 10 dragon strength was not the main point. The main point was the 10 years of lifespan, and whether or not his physiological lifespan had improved. After calming himself down, Xiaochen used the pulse diagnosis technique from the Compendium of Cultivation to check his physiological lifespan. A cold current flowed throughout his body. Xiaochen's body suddenly turned illusory, and his acupoints shone brightly. To others, Xiaochen looked like a set of white bones sitting cross-legged, radiating crystalline light. It was not that Xiaochen had truly turned into a set of white bones. However, this time, when he executed the pulse diagnosis technique more thoroughly, it resulted in a mysterious phenomenon. The light from the bones pierced through his flesh. Boom! After a while, the light faded, and the mysterious phenomenon vanished. When Xiaochen opened his eyes, he did not see any joy or dismay. The results of the pulse diagnosis technique were both good and bad. The blue dragon body nourishing art was indeed effective. However, the effects were limited. His physiological lifespan had only been extended by 10 years. The aging trend had not been eradicated. I still need the longevity art. I have to find an opportunity to speak to that holy daughter alone. No matter whether I can obtain the longevity art or not, I have to do my best to see if I can exchange for it. However, there is a great perfection expert of the blue-robed emperor beside her. That person will not give me a chance at all. I have to think of a way. Xiaochen analyzed the situation and made up his mind. If there is no other way, I will use force. No matter what, I have to fight for an opportunity to speak alone. Dong, dong, dong. Footsteps resounded, and the 9-cauldron pavilion seeing arrived with a smile. She pushed open the door and said, "Young Master Mo, sorry for making you wait. Everything is ready." Xiaochen received the spatial ring that Ziying handed over, and carefully counted it. There were 27 million black astral coins, the exact number. There was also the incomplete Emperor-grade secret treasure with a dragon soul as a gift. Xiaochen also handed over the 9 jade strips to Ziying. When both sides verified that there were no mistakes, they signed the transaction contract, and everything was ready. Ziying was somewhat shocked to discover that Xiaochen's face did not change at all after receiving such a large sum of black astral coins. She did not even think about it. She really could not figure it out. Xiaochen looked young, but his mental state was even higher than her father's. Ziying thought of something else. She said, "That's right, young Master Mo. Tonight, the young master of 10,000 Treasure City, young Master Yi, is holding a banquet in his residence to entertain the Holy Daughter. I received an invitation, and young Master Yi specifically asked for you." Young Master Yi was the cold-faced youth driving the ancient golden war chariot. This was the first time Xiaochen had met him. Why would he specifically invite him to the banquet? Xiaochen thought for a while but could not figure out the reason. So he asked Ziying for guidance. "I heard that it is the Lunar Palace's Holy Daughter's intention." Unexpectedly, young Master Mo has a connection with the Holy Daughter. "This is really enviable," Ziying said with a smile. "The Lunar Palace's Holy Daughter, Yu Bingyun's intention?" Xiaochen originally came to 10,000 Treasure City in a low-profile manner. However, the 9-cauldron pavilion caused the entire city to know about it. Now, everyone knew that the 9-cauldron pavilion made a mistake and was going to make a fool of themselves. For no reason at all, the 9-cauldron pavilion was receiving a Grandmaster-level martial sage with the highest form of courtesy. If Yu Bingyun wanted to, she could easily make a connection based on what others said about Xiaochen's appearance and herself. However, Ziying clearly misunderstood. Xiaochen did indeed have a significant connection with the Holy Daughter. However, this connection was not what the other party thought it was. For some reason, the Lunar Palace's Holy Daughter wanted to meet him. Did she want to confirm his identity before settling the score? Should I go or not? Xiaochen felt somewhat conflicted. The misunderstanding that day was rather big. Not only did he injure some Lunar Palace female disciples and scold them in front of everyone, but he also messed up the scene of the other party's treatment. "Very well. I'll go with you when it's night." The misunderstanding had to be resolved eventually. As for the longevity art, Xiaochen wanted to talk to her alone for a while, so he quickly made up his mind. Ziying revealed an expression of joy. Originally, she was worried that Xiaochen would not go and upset the young master of 10,000 Treasure City. Now, it looked like she had worried for nothing. "In that case, go and make your preparations. I'll come and find you personally." After Ziying left, Xiaochen withdrew his hand with a flip of his palm, and took out the damaged Emperor-grade secret treasure with a dragon soul, an ancient sword radiating desolate chi. The blade of the sword was in tatters, with nicks on both sides and cracks spreading out in the middle. Such a sword would probably shatter with just a touch. Whether the secret treasure could be used or not was not what Xiaochen cared about. He sent in his spiritual sense. Within the shattered space, a lethargic dragon soul was lying in a dark corner of the space. It did not move at all, showing no signs of life or fighting spirit. Its eyes were closed as it waited for death. It did not even notice the spiritual sense that Xiaochen sent in. Waiting for death. This was a dragon waiting for death. No, there was no such thing as a dragon waiting for death in this world. Even in death, a dragon's fighting spirit and hot-bloodedness would not stop. This was no longer a dragon soul. It was a worm, not worthy of being called a dragon. Xiaochen could forget about using it to break through the bottleneck of the first layer of the blue dragon body nourishing art. Xiaochen withdrew his spiritual sense. Then he grabbed the tattered ancient sword and tossed it out of the window, turning it into a beam of light that flew far away. The damaged Emperor-grade secret treasure with the dragon soul was worth 1 million black astral coins. Yet, Xiaochen casually tossed it away without any reluctance. The moon hung high in the sky, and night quietly descended. Xiaochen and Ziying flew in the air, heading for the luxurious palace on the thumb of the statue. This young treasure master Yi Ling is an extremely strong person. However, no matter how strong he is, he still has to be polite to the lunar palace's holy daughter. The two did not move very fast. As they strolled in the air, they chatted idly. Ziying's tone showed some envy for the position of the lunar palace's holy daughter. The lunar palace had a transcendent position, vaguely above the many holy lands. It had ancient inheritances and deep accumulations. After the Dragon's Gate temporarily unified the heavenly starry ocean, the lunar palace's reputation soared. Now it nearly pushed the lunar palace to the top. Bright Moon City became the center of the entire heavenly starry ocean, connecting the various immortal holy lands. Its position was so important that no one could replace it. However, this treasure master is really mysterious. Even my father is not willing to tell me about his background, Ziying said softly. The treasure master was indeed mysterious. Rumor had it that this person occupied 10 ancient statues similar to this one in the heavenly starry ocean, and transformed them into sea markets. The treasure master did not run a merchant association, but relied on these sea markets. His annual income was even higher than that of several peak merchant associations. Soon, the two landed in front of the treasure master's residence. There was an endless stream of carriages in front of the gates. All the noble merchants or cultivators in 10,000 Treasure City had probably been invited. Miss Ziying, it has been a long time. How have you been? A man dressed in luxurious clothes and giving off a rich aura walked towards the two of them with a young man with purple eyes. This person had a wide smile on his face, but it gave off an inexplicable feeling of hypocrisy. When Ziying saw this person, she frowned slightly and whispered, "This is the young manager of the Flaming Wind Merchant Association's 10,000 Treasure City, Bai Zhe. The person beside him is the scion of the ancient Gongsun clan, Gongsun Yan. Gongsun Yan was born with the thunder spirit body. He grasps the will of thunder and the will of fire. He has cultivated the thunder flame war body, and is extremely famous in the Southern Sea." The Flaming Wind Merchant Association's Bai Zhe looked at Xiaochen, and a mocking look flashed in his eyes. Haha. Is this the honored guest of the Nine Cauldron Pavilion? Indeed, hearing about him is not as good as seeing him in person. Miss Ziying has good eyes. I'll take my leave first. You. Ziying could not help feeling flustered at such mockery. Her face flushed bright red. When the masters of the nearby merchant associations heard this, they all laughed loudly. Indeed, Bai Zhe had good eyes. For the sake of such a nameless person, he missed out on all the outstanding talents of the Southern Sea. After this 10,000 Treasure Festival, the Nine Cauldron Pavilion would probably suffer the consequences of being chased out of its position as the fifth city lord. Gong Sunyan glanced at Xiaochen, and his eyes suddenly lit up. He wondered if this person was the white-robed man who profaned the holy daughter. Based on Xiaochen's clothes, figure, and the white fan in his hand, it was most likely him. Chapter 1056. Gong Sunyan, who had been preparing to leave with Bai Zhe, stepped forward. He looked at Xiaochen and asked, "Might I ask for your great name? Did you appear on Purple Cloud Island half a month ago?" Xiaochen smiled and said, "Mo Yin, what young master Gongsun wants to ask is whether I was the one who took the holy daughter's pulse half a month ago." "Indeed it was you. How reckless. You profaned the holy daughter, and even dared to appear in our Southern Sea." Boom! Electric flames flickered in the sky. Gong Sunyan did not say anything more and directly attacked Xiaochen. Gong Sunyan stepped forward, and electricity flickered on his body. Fire and lightning layered over each other as he threw a palm strike. When Gong Sunyan threw this palm strike, that strand of electric flame in the sky instantly lit up half the sky, making it look like the sun, illuminating a boundless aura. From the moment Gong Sunyan spoke to the moment he stored up his aura and attacked, only one breath of time had passed. With such strength, it was no wonder he did not care about regular Grandmaster-level martial sages. Even if a regular Great Grandmaster-level martial sage came, they would be instantly killed. Gong Sunyan truly lived up to his reputation as an outstanding talent. Everyone exclaimed in shock. Before the boundless electric flame, the white-robed Xiao Chen's fate was already in sight. The electric flame would strike him and burn him to ashes. Xiao Chen smiled coldly. He did not store up his aura or retreat. In the time it took for a spark to fly, he took a step forward as well. Then, Xiao Chen folded the folding fan in his hand and pointed it at the center of Gong Sun Yan's ferocious palm strike. Bang! The instant the folding fan clashed with the electric flame palm strike, Xiao Chen did not move back at all. Instead, the one who moved back was Gong Sun Yan with his boundless aura. The reason was none other than Gong Sun Yan's arrogance. He did not draw a weapon, fighting barehanded. Gong Sun Yan thought that with his speed and aura he could instantly suppress Xiao Chen, leaving Xiao Chen at a loss. However, Gong Sun Yan did not know that to Xiao Chen, this bit of aura was nothing. Not only did he not panic, but he also immediately grasped the opening of this move. Not giving the other party a chance to retaliate, Xiao Chen leaped forward with a tap of his feet. Making use of the 2 to 3 seconds before the other party landed on the ground, he launched a flurry of attacks. His folding fan fluttered, his shoulders, his hands, his feet, his hair, all of them were sharp weapons. Before Xiao Chen, who comprehended the flawless saber Dao and had plenty of combat experience, Gong Sun Yan was like a child. In just 2 to 3 seconds he had been beaten into a sorry state. He had suffered multiple blows, and he was in excruciating pain. By the time he landed on the ground, he staggered a dozen steps back. On the other hand, in the eyes of others, Xiao Chen's movements were dazzling. After images overlapped one another, and after his incredibly elegant movements, he stretched out his hand and waved his folding fan. Then he landed firmly on the ground, appearing calm and unruffled. From start to end, the strength that Xiao Chen displayed was that of an ordinary grandmaster-level martial sage. However, in this short exchange, he beat up Gong Sun Yan like he was a child. The temperament and performance of the outstanding talents could not be seen at all. They were clumsy, pathetic, and unable to withstand a single blow. Who dares to be so unbridled in front of the treasure master's residence? Just as Gong Sun Yan was about to erupt with the thunder flame war body and bring out his full strength, a dignified voice came from the treasure master's residence. Whoosh! For guards of the treasure master's residence descended from the sky. The old man leading them swept his gaze across the place, and everyone felt a sense of might and pressure in their hearts. This was a blue-robed emperor expert. The one who spoke earlier was him. The moment this person appeared, the raging Gong Sun Yan forcefully calmed down. Xiao Chen opened his folding fan and smiled faintly. Brother Gong Sun and I were just itching to spar. Senior, please don't misunderstand. The old man snorted coldly. I don't care where you come from or what faction you have behind you. You are absolutely not allowed to make a move in this 10,000 treasure city. After saying that, the old man turned around and left with the guards who extended their hands. Before leaving, the old man gave Xiao Chen a suspicious look. Xiao Chen let the old man look, not minding it at all. A small perfection blue-robed emperor would not be able to see anything wrong with it. Gong Sun Yan scattered his aura and looked coldly at Xiao Chen. Don't get cocky. Just wait and see. Xiao Chen found this funny. He really did not get cocky. He had won too easily. There was no sense of accomplishment at all. Young Master M.O. Was the person who profaned the holy daughter really you? Ziying asked in disbelief. Xiao Chen smiled and said, It's fine. There is just some misunderstanding between us. I will clear it up at the banquet. It will not bring any trouble to the 9 Cauldron Pavilion. Ziying giggled and said, Young Master M.O. is overthinking. Our 9 Cauldron Pavilion is considered a peak merchant association in the heavenly starry ocean. Why would we fear this little bit of trouble? However, this little girl really did not expect that there would be someone in this world who is not afraid of death and would dare to profane the holy daughter. Profane? Why does everyone use this word? I did not even touch the other party's hand. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly and stopped explaining. Then he entered the treasure master's residence with Ziying. The small interlude ended, but the storm was far from over. In just a few moves, Xiao Chen had reduced the outstanding talent Gong Sun Yan to a sorry state like a child. He no longer had the air of an expert, appearing clumsy and stupid. Naturally, cultivators with good judgment would not think that Gong Sun Yin was only capable of this much. Instead, when Xiao Chen made a move, he completely countered Gong Sun Yin. Xiao Chen had predicted the enemy's moves and made judgments in advance. His rich combat experience was clearly displayed in close combat. Although Gong Sun Yin had underestimated his opponent and lost the initiative, based on the current situation, even if he had not underestimated his opponent, he would not have gained the upper hand. What was even more unexpected was that the white-clothed man in front of them was actually the person who had been rumored to be the one who had publicly profaned the saintess. There will probably be a good show to watch at the banquet. The Holy Son and Holy Daughter of Zodiac Hall, the Divine Dragon Palace's Hai Tian, the Xia clan's Xia Hanfeng, and the Shang Emperor have all been invited. I wonder, where does he get his confidence from? After slapping the faces of the outstanding talents of our Southern Sea's younger generation, he still dares to attend the banquet. The Nine Cauldron Pavilion will probably be implicated as well. Haha, it is best if there is excitement. This year's 10,000 Treasure Festival is indeed somewhat dull. Along with all sorts of discussions, the guests handed over their invitations and entered the Treasure Master's residence in groups of 2s and 3s. Under the full moon at night, the group walked through the quiet garden and arrived at the brightly lit hall. The banquet had already started there. The famous singers and dancers of 10,000 Treasure City had been invited. Zither music and string music reverberated in the surroundings. The young treasure master of 10,000 Treasure City's long and narrow table was placed in the center. Behind the table, the young treasure master, Yi Ling, sat on a golden jade throne, appearing very tyrannical. Yu Bingyun sat at the first table on the right. Beside her was the mysterious expert Auntie Bai, who never left her side. When Xiao Chen entered with Ziying, he clearly felt Yu Bingyun's gaze on him. However, Xiao Chen did not mind. He smiled faintly and looked back. Previously, he had not seen this girl's appearance clearly due to the white fog and a screen. This time, when Xiao Chen looked seriously, he still felt that the other party's face was obscured by a layer of mist, preventing him from seeing it clearly. Even when Xiao Chen infused his spiritual sense into his eyes, he still could not see clearly. However, he did not feel any discomfort. The other party's appearance seemed to appear in his mind easily. However, when he tried to think about it, he could not make any sense of it. This was truly strange. Aside from the holy daughter Yu Bingyun's gaze, Xiao Chen also felt several gazes on him after he sat down. Clearly, the commotion at the gates had already reached here. Among them, 3 people caught his attention. With Ziying's whispered introduction, Xiao Chen gained a rough idea of these 3 people's origins. They were the Southern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master, Hai Tian, the ancient noble clans Shangguanyun, and the Xia clan's scion, Xia Hanfeng, were the peak outstanding talents of the Southern Sea's younger generation. These people all had extraordinary aspects. They either cultivated 2 wills, cultivated a special combat body, or cultivated a wondrous cultivation technique. If it were before the king conferral ceremony, the Xiao Chen of that time would have some reservations when facing these people. Now, however, he did not need to worry too much. Xiao Chen had already entered the blue-robed emperor realm and returned to his natural state, becoming one with the world. He had the air of a grandmaster, able to control it as he pleased. Aside from the Lunar Palace's holy daughter, the only person Xiao Chen could not see through was the young treasure master, Yi Ling, who sat in the middle and did not need to hide his tyrannical aura. The banquet had not officially started yet. If it did, the dancers would probably be sent away. Is he waiting for someone? As Xiao Chen thought this, he saw the young treasure master Yi Ling stand up from his throne. He revealed a smile and said, "Brother Chu Yang, congratulations on coming out of closed-door cultivation. After this, your name will definitely resound throughout the heavenly starry ocean, bringing honor to our Southern Sea." There were countless guests here. When the other outstanding talents arrived, the young treasure master only smiled and raised his cup in greeting. Now, for the sake of the Zodiac Hall's holy son, Chu Yang, he stood up alone. This showed how much importance the young treasure master placed on Chu Yang. Outside the door, the Sun Palace's Chu Yang and the Moon Palace's Fu Hongyao entered together. Immediately, everyone's gazes focused on these 2. Xiao Chen squinted and sent his spiritual sense into his eyes. He discovered rings of light that could not be seen with the naked eye on Chu Yang's body. Chu Yang was like a blazing sun, radiating light everywhere. If he willed it, he could instantly turn the dark night as bright as day. Chu Yang's cultivation had already broken through the barrier of Grandmaster, reaching Great Grandmaster level martial sage. He was only one step away from the blue-robed emperor. Xiao Chen thought to himself, calculating the time, that group of outstanding talents of the Kunlun continent should have reached Chu Yang's current cultivation level. Furthermore, in the astral battlefield, the strongest battlefield, Chu Yang's improvement would be even more obvious. However, Xiao Chen analyzed the situation in his heart. Aside from the few primes and Emperor Wu's inheritors, no one would be able to defeat this person. Haha. Brother Yiling is very considerate. Chu Yang smiled faintly. Then, together with Fu Hongyao, they went to the first table on the left that was reserved for the two of them. Yiling sat down again and waved his hand, dismissing the dancers. Then he raised his cup and said, "This time, the Lunar Palace's holy daughter came to my 10,000 treasure city, adding to the glory of this 10,000 treasure festival. This first cup of wine must be offered to Miss Bingyan." The others raised their cups at the same time, swaying as they toasted Yu Bingyun. She smiled faintly and did not put on any pretense. Then she raised her cup and drained it in one go. Naturally, this second cup of wine must be offered to the most dazzling young outstanding talent of our southern sea, the strongest true inheritor of the Sun Palace, Brother Chu Yang. Congratulations on coming out of closed-door cultivation. Chu Yang smiled faintly, gladly accepting the young treasure master's compliments. Then he raised his cup and drained it as well. Chapter 1057. No one had any doubts about the order of the young treasure master's toasts. It was only natural that the holy volleyball holy maiden should be the first. Calling Chu Yang the number one person of the Southern Sea's younger generation would cause the other outstanding talents to feel dissatisfied in their hearts. However, they would not show it. Everyone looked forward to who the young treasure master, Yiling, would offer the third cup of wine to. At the beginning of the banquet, the host would only toast 3 cups of wine. These 3 cups of wine represented a person's face, identity, and reputation. Given Yiling's status as the young treasure master, these 3 cups of wine were naturally very important. Everyone wanted to be the one toasting the third cup. The prodigies Hai Tian, Gong Sunyan, Sheng Guanyun, and Xia Hanfeng were all secretly waiting. Although they didn't show it on the surface, they were already unable to restrain themselves. After the second cup of wine was drunk, everyone put down their wine cups and looked at Yiling, waiting to see which outstanding talent he would offer this cup of wine to. If there were no accidents, Hai Tian from the Southern Sea Dragon God Palace had the highest chance. After all, he was the legitimate successor of Neptune's old subordinates. Hua. The maidservant standing at the side gently filled Yiling's empty cup. Yiling picked up his wine cup and smiled faintly. Then, he swept his gaze across the faces of the various outstanding talents. His line of sight was fixed on a person that no one would have expected. This third cup of wine is for young Master Mo Yin, who came from afar. I sincerely hope that young Master Mo will do me the honor of attending the next 10,000 Treasure Festival. To everyone's surprise, Yiling's third cup of wine was not for the various outstanding talents. Instead, he chose the unknown Xiao Chen. Hai Tian, Gong Sunyan, and the others, who were filled with anticipation, all revealed expressions of extreme shock and disbelief. Everyone's expressions darkened. After the other 3 city lords, who were trying to rope in the geniuses, immediately understood that it was time for them to step forward. His financial backer had spent the silver from the tournament, and his status and reputation had spread far and wide. They actually didn't manage to get the third cup of wine, and let a nameless kid snatch it away. In the future, which prodigy would want to do business with them? This cup of wine young Master E can toast, but some people can't drink. The young managers of the 3 merchant associations stood up at the same time, wanting to tear down the stage in front of all the guests. The Wind-Fire Merchant Association is unconvinced. They feel that young Master Mo is not qualified to drink this cup of wine. The Treasure Heaven Pavilion isn't convinced. Not just anyone has the qualifications to drink the wine that young Master Yi offers. The Heavenly Cloud Chamber of Commerce is also unconvinced. Young Master Yi's wine can be toasted, but some people can't drink it. Suddenly, in front of all the guests, the young masters of the 3 chambers of commerce stood up at the same time and mercilessly pulled down Xiao Chen's stage. Xiao Chen found this strange. Firstly, he had not expected the young treasure master Yi Ling to offer this toast to him. Secondly, he could not understand why the young managers of the 3 merchant associations would react so strongly. It was just a cup of wine. If he didn't drink it, so be it. It was no big deal. However, even though he didn't care, Ziying did. Xiao Chen was her financial backer and her biggest client. If she didn't stand up for him now, who else would want to work with her in the future? Ziying put down her wine cup and said sullenly, "This is the treasure master's residence. The few of you are really tyrannical, even daring to stop the young treasure master's wine." The Windfire Merchant Associations by Zay said coldly, "His origins are unknown, and he is not famous. What will the outstanding talents of my Southern Sea think if we offer this toast to him?" "That's right. We do business in 10,000 Treasure City, and pay a large amount of taxes to 10,000 Treasure City every year. If the treasure master offers this toast to an outsider, we will be disappointed." The words of the 10,000 Treasure Pavilion's Chen Tian made it clear that the 3 merchant associations stood together, intending to work together to pressure the treasure master. Otherwise, a single merchant association would not have any say against the tyrannical treasure master's residence. The few outstanding talents remained silent. Clearly, they were extremely dissatisfied in their hearts, waiting for the treasure master to give an explanation. Coming to this 10,000 Treasure City, they spent money like it was dirt, seeking fame and profit. Unexpectedly, the young treasure master offered a third toast to an outsider at this banquet. Wasn't this slapping the faces of these outstanding talents? Such a thing happened right at the start of the banquet. The guests were all excited. Such a situation rarely happened. However, the young treasure master, Yi Ling, smiled faintly as if he had expected this long ago. He said calmly, "Young Master Mo completed a transaction worth close to 40 million black astral coins at the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association. As long as anyone can reach half of this amount, they will receive the best reception in 10,000 Treasure City, becoming an eternal honored guest of my 10,000 Treasure City. Furthermore, they will enjoy a 20% discount in the 10 Great Sea Markets of the Heavenly Starry Ocean." The moment Yi Ling said this, the guests in the hall goggled, not daring to believe what they heard. A transaction worth 40 million black astral coins. What kind of a sum was this? Aside from a few special blue-robed emperors, probably no one under Emperor Wu could achieve this. Everyone looked at Xiao Chen in shock. A Grandmaster-level martial sage actually completed such a huge transaction. Such a sum was probably the largest transaction in the history of the 10,000 Treasure Festival. The young managers of the 3 merchant associations stood up. At first, they were shocked. Then they felt embarrassed. When faced with so many gazes, they did not know how to deal with this situation, unable to advance or retreat. Such a huge transaction was completely worthy of the young treasure master's third cup of wine. Compared to Mo Yun, the transactions of the other outstanding talents were like children playing house. There was no comparison at all. This time, they really stuck their faces out and took the initiative to be slapped. This was a huge embarrassment. Ziying felt incredibly cocky, a smile filling her face. "You mocked me. Now you know who the joke is, right?" Bai Zhe of the Flaming Wind Merchant Association was the first to react. He smiled and said, "Congratulations, young treasure master. This cup of wine should indeed be offered to young Master Mo." The people of the other merchant associations all chimed in. They all stood up and raised their wine cups, toasting Xiao Chen together. Merchants sought profit. They did not care about who could give them benefits or potential benefits. They did not care about face. What was integrity? How much was it worth? Was it worth 10 million black astral coins? Hai Tian and the others paled. They had not expected such an ending. As they looked at the people smiling and toasting Xiao Chen, the rage in their hearts slowly built up. Fu Hongyao whispered something into Chu Yang's ear. A murderous intent flashed in Chu Yang's eyes. Then he glanced at Xiao Chun with some doubt in his eyes. Xiao Chun calmly accepted the toasts of the others. He raised his wine cup and drained it in one go. Xiao Chun glanced at the Lunar Palace's holy daughter. He could not see her expression clearly. There were no fluctuations, as if she did not care about the matter of that day. However, that blue-robed emperor expert beside her kept staring at Xiao Chun like he wanted to see through him. Xiao Chun's heart sank. With this person around, it would be very difficult for him to meet Yu Bingyan alone. While Xiao Chun thought to himself, the banquet continued. The focus of the banquet was still on Yu Bingyan. Under the direction of someone, the topic shifted to Xiao Chun's blasphemy with the holy daughter on Purple Cloud Island. Yu Bingyan smiled faintly and said that it was a misunderstanding. She told everyone not to mind it, saving Xiao Chun some trouble. Miss Bingyun, there is still one more year before the Four Seas Hero Gathering begins. I wonder what kind of great gift the Lunar Palace will take out for this gathering. Indeed. Even now, the Lunar Palace is still keeping it a secret. There is no need for it, right? The topic shifted to the topic that the outstanding talents here were more concerned about. They asked about the great gift of the Four Seas Hero Gathering. Yu Bingyan smiled faintly and said, "The Lunar Palace is very sincere about the great gift of this Four Seas Hero Gathering. At this point, there is indeed no need to keep it a secret." Seeing that Yu Bingyan did not intend to hide anything, everyone's curiosity could not help but be piqued. In every Four Seas Hero Gathering, the great treasure that the Lunar Palace took out would make everyone scramble for it. They wondered what kind of great treasure the Lunar Palace would take out this time. This time, the top treasure that the Lunar Palace is taking out is a divine rock from another world. This divine rock has a spirit and can suppress luck and change the earth's veins. There is a prime martial emperor writing the words Dragon's Gate on it. The noisy hall immediately turned silent. Wasn't the divine stone that Yu Bingyan spoke of the first-ranked wondrous stone, the heaven-subduing rock? That was the mountain tablet of the Dragon Gate. The two words Dragon Gate were written by the Qing Emperor himself. Since the destruction of the Dragon's Gate, the mountain tablet of the Dragon's Gate had been missing for 10,000 years. Unexpectedly, it was in the hands of the Lunar Palace. But thinking about it, it made sense. This mountain tablet was newly erected after the Dragon's Gate unified the heavenly starry ocean. After the Dragon's Gate was destroyed, the Lunar Palace rose up. It was reasonable that the Lunar Palace obtained this mountain tablet of the heavenly starry ocean. As for the mountain tablet of the Kunlun Dragon Sect's headquarters, after the fall of the Qing Emperor, the mountain tablet was immediately destroyed by his enemies. This was the only one of the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablets that had been lost outside. Great waves surged in Xiao Chen's heart. However, aside from the initial shock, he quickly recovered. This was because a pair of eyes noticed him immediately. The owner of those eyes was the Sun Palace's Chu Yang, whom even Xiao Chen somewhat feared. Hong Yao, although this person's origins are unknown, he uses a strange weapon. Furthermore, he is only a great grandmaster-level martial sage. I'm afraid that you really got the wrong person. I am not completely confident either. It is just a feeling. As for the exact situation, we still have to test him out before we can know. I understand. If it really is him, I will definitely make him pay a painful price in this treasure master's residence. The two sent voice projections to each other, exchanging their opinions of this Mo Yun. Both of them suspected the other person. However, this Mo Yun used a folding fan, which was very different from the saber that Xiao Chen used. Although Fu Hongyao had a strong intuition, he still did not dare to be sure. Regardless of the two's secret conversation, everyone in the hall was extremely shocked at the Lunar Palace's gift. The heaven-subduing rock and the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. This gift was something that no one could have imagined even if they racked their brains. After tonight, the news of the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet as the gift would spread throughout the entire heavenly starry ocean like the wind. This would make the Four Seas Hero Gathering 1 year from now even more eye-catching, reaching an unprecedented peak. Xiao Chen's thoughts raced. Initially, he had no interest in the Four Seas Hero Gathering. Now he could not help entering deep thought. I wonder, Who does Miss Bingyun think will be able to suppress all the outstanding talents in this Four Seas hero gathering, stand out, and take the top spot to receive the gift? Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said, "Right now this is an age of geniuses. The heavenly starry ocean is full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. How could Bingyun dare to make such a judgment?" Chapter 1058. I feel that our Southern Sea's young Master Chu has great hope. There have always been rumors that young Master Chu cultivates in the sun. I wonder if that is true? Someone threw the question to Chu Yang. Immediately, everyone's gaze turned to Chu Yang. That's right. The Zodiac Hall dominates the Southern Sea. The Sun Palace only accepts elites as disciples. Furthermore, young Master Chu is an elite among elites. After coming out of closed-door cultivation, you will definitely gain something. Chu Yang's expression did not change. He smiled calmly and said, "It is true that I cultivate in the sun. However, the cultivation places of the outstanding talents of the Heavenly Province Academy, the Five Poison Sect, the Inyang Paradise, the Myriad Fiend Island, and the other holy lands are not much inferior to mine. How is that an advantage?" Suddenly, Chu Yang's tone changed as he casually glanced at Xiaochen. After a pause he said, "Today all the outstanding talents of the Southern Sea are here. It is rare for us to gather here. How about we exchange moves before the Four Seas hero gathering? That way, we can improve together." Young Master Chu's suggestion is pretty good. This is a good opportunity to see the strength of the various outstanding talents. The Four Seas hero gathering is about to begin. I believe the many outstanding talents are already prepared. As soon as Chu Yang's voice fell, there was an endless stream of responses. The banquet immediately turned lively. In the world of cultivators, fighting was always something that made people's blood race. This was especially so for the many outstanding talents here. The fights would definitely be very exciting. Brother Yiling, what do you think? Chu Yang looked at the young treasure master. After all, this was the treasure master's residence. He needed to seek his permission before doing anything. Yiling smiled and said, "I have no objections as long as the holy daughter does not mind." Yu Bingyun frowned slightly. She vaguely felt that Chu Yang's words targeted Mo Yun. After hesitating for a while, Yu Bingyun said, "It is fine to stop when necessary. Don't get caught up in a conflict of emotions." Actually, even if she did not say this, Yu Bingyun knew that it would be pointless. However, the young treasure master and Chu Yang both wanted to test Mo Yun. Even if she tried to stop them, the two would have other excuses. Later, if there are any accidents, Auntie Bai, please keep an eye on him. Don't worry, I have been watching him. Yu Bingyun sent a voice projection to Auntie Bai. It was still unclear whether this Mo Yun was the person she was looking for or not. She did not wish for anything unexpected to happen. However, he didn't know that this would cause Xiaochen to misunderstand him even more. Xiaochen thought that Auntie Bai was fixated on him because she still remembered what happened on Purple Cloud Island, and could only use force. The young treasure master, Yiling, smiled faintly and said, "In that case, let's stop here. I also want to see how much Brother Chu Yang's strength has improved after coming out of closed-door cultivation." Chu Yang was non-committal and did not answer the question directly. He said, "There will be a chance. Let's see how other friends perform first. Brother Gongsun seems to be ready for battle." Gong Sunyan looked at Xiaochen and walked to the center of the square. He said coldly, "That's right. Earlier outside the treasure master's residence. This one's exchange with young Master Mo is far from satisfying. Mo Yun, since young Master Chu has spoken, do you dare to spar with me again?" At this moment, Xiaochen was thinking of some plans. When he heard this, he had an idea. He stood up, opened his folding fan, and walked to the center of the arena. He used his actions to answer Gong Sunyan. Seeing Xiaochen step forward, a fighting spirit blazed in Gong Sunyan's eyes. He had suppressed the humiliation outside the city lord's residence for a long time. Without saying anything, Gong Sunyan put on a pair of black gold gloves. Then electric light flashed as he charged at Xiaochen. This time, Gong Sunyan did not hold back at all. He left behind a clump of lightning-attributed fire where he stood, and his body moved in an instant, vanishing from where he was. It was a simple move, but it had the explosive speed of lightning and the destructive power of flames. This move was not fancy. It relied on speed and ruthlessness. In this space that was not too vast, it held a great advantage. Under such circumstances, a regular great grandmaster level martial sage would be caught off guard and defeated in one move. Xiao Chen's expression remained calm as he watched Gong Sunyan, who had vanished from everyone else's sight. However, Gong Sunyan's movements appeared in slow motion in Xiao Chen's eyes. He could clearly see the trajectory of Gong Sunyan's body and the openings in his footwork. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen moved. His body also vanished from the eyes of the weaker people. Bang! 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 The sounds of intense fighting rang out in the air. Gong Sunyan's figure appeared, flying back while vomiting blood. Xiao Chen moved like a ghost, moving forward again. He thrust his folding fan, and Gong Sunyan flew back again, crashing into the steps of Yi Ling's table. In the eyes of ordinary people, the scene was very simple. It was just the two disappearing one after another. Then, Gong Sunyan appeared in midair with a flourishing aura. Gong Sunyan was mysteriously defeated, vomiting blood. Then he suffered a ruthless strike from Xiao Chen, severely injuring him and rendering him unable to get up. However, to the experts present, the scene was not like this. The two fought with speed, exchanging 10 moves in an instant. Every move was hair-raising, able to decide victory and defeat, deciding life and death. The intensity of this fight was no less than a great battle of 1,000 moves. Of the 10 moves, Gong Sunyan only managed to attack once before falling into defense. After doing his best to block 3 of Xiao Chen's moves, he could no longer block another. The folding fan fluttered, the bone-chilling cold wind. Every strike was horrifying. Gong Sunyan suffered 7 moves in a row. How could he not be defeated in such a sorry state? Confusion appeared in Chu Yang's eyes. The strength that this Mo Yin before him displayed was indeed that of a grandmaster-level martial sage. However, his combat experience and techniques were much higher than Gong Sunyan's. Hence, Gong Sunyan lost so decisively that everyone thought that he did not even last one round. Could it be that he really is not that person? Chu Yang thought to himself. Whoosh! Xiao Chen opened his folding fan and smiled faintly. With just this much, you dare to call yourself an outstanding talent? You had better not go to the Four Seas Hero Gathering. Even if you do, you will just embarrass yourself. The Southern Sea is merely SOSO. How arrogant. Xia Hanfeng will test you out. When the scion of the Xia clan, who was also a noble clan, saw Mo Yun's arrogance, he soared up and pressed toward Xiao Chen. After learning from Gong Sunyan's lesson, Xia Hanfeng fought steadily. He used the Xia clan's cultivation technique to imitate the might of the heavenly Tao. As he slowly descended, he threw a palm strike. It was like the hand of heaven smashing down heavily. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. This was the first time he saw such a martial technique. To think that Xiao Chen could imitate the might of the heavenly Tao. Unfortunately, he was still lacking. His cultivation had not reached the level of great grandmaster level martial sage, so he was not a threat to Xiao Chen. Thousand Frost Battle Snow, Unyielding Pride. Xiao Chen opened his folding fan, and used a profound martial technique as well. His arrogance soared, not fearing heaven or heaven. This mysterious state happened to counter Xia Hanfeng's move, Heaven's Hand. This forced Xia Hanfeng, who was about to press down back. Xiao Chen's soaring arrogance suppressed the might of heaven. Without the might of heaven, this move naturally broke. Xiao Chen soared up and clashed with Xia Hanfeng in midair. With every move, he successfully dragged Xia Hanfeng into his rhythm. It looked like Xia Hanfeng was forced into a sorry state by Xiao Chen, about to follow in Gong Sunyan's footsteps. The Divine Dragon Palace's Hai Tian and the Shangguan noble clan's Shangguan Yun, who were still muttering to themselves, shouted coldly and attacked at the same time, trying to help Xia Hanfeng out of his predicament. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. They came at the right time. Since they were willing to take the initiative to make a move, it saved him some trouble. A chaotic battle broke out, turning the place into an intense battle between 4 people. The 3 outstanding talents of the Southern Sea actually had to make a move at the same time to suppress Xiao Chen. Yi Ling, who sat in the middle, showed a sullen expression. Xiao Chen's strength somewhat surpassed his expectations. Chu Yang felt somewhat anxious. Even at this point, he still had not seen the martial technique that Mo Yin used. He did not know what it had to do with Xiaochen. Did I really mistake him? Just at this moment, something strange happened. The aura of Xiaochen, who was being suppressed by the three, suddenly soared, reaching great grandmaster-level martial sage. Clearly, it was not realistic to use grandmaster-level martial sage to defeat these three. That way, Xiaochen's plan would not succeed. Only by raising his strength further would he have a chance. When facing Xiaochen, whose strength suddenly soared, Hai Tian and the other two were caught off guard. The first to suffer was Xia Hanfeng. He was sent flying by Xiaochen's palm strike, knocking over 3 tables in a row. Amidst the clanging sounds, figures flew everywhere, and the place immediately became somewhat chaotic. Bang! Xiaochen sent out another palm strike, and Shengguan Yin went flying. A strong wind blew from his body, spreading everywhere. The place turned chaotic. With the final punch, the Divine Dragon Palace's Hai Tian flew back like a meteor by Xiaochen. The friction between his body and the air gave off a piercing sonic boom. The direction Hai Tian flew in was where the Lunar Palace's holy daughter was. Auntie Bai's expression changed slightly. Given Hai Tian's speed, if he crashed into the holy daughter, she would definitely be injured. Auntie Bai moved at lightning speed, wanting to block Hai Tian. The hall fell into complete chaos. A strong wind blew, and the heavenly might spread out, affecting all the guests. As everyone made their moves, the situation became even more chaotic. All this happened in just 2 breaths. Xiaochen took advantage of the opening when Auntie Bai attacked to move and restrain Yu Bingyan at lightning speed. Xiaochen used his heavenly laws to drive the power of the world. With a suppressive advantage, he instantly sealed Yu Bingyun's strength, preventing her from executing her abilities. Don't move. I just have some business with you. I won't hurt you. Xiaochen hoisted Yu Bingyan on his shoulder and leaped out of the hall. With a few flashes, he unfurled the freedom wings and vanished from the treasure master's residence. The hall was as chaotic as ever. Loud sounds rang out endlessly. Auntie Bai had just caught the flying Hai Tian. The other party was the Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master. Furthermore, Auntie Bai was not a decisive person, so she did not want to injure Hai Tian. Who knew the moment Auntie Bai landed, Yu Bingyan disappeared from her side. Seeing Xiaochen carry Yu Bingyan away just like that, Chu Yang and Yi Ling were flabbergasted. What was going on? How could the bona fide Lunar Palace's holy daughter be carried away like that? Bang! With the holy daughter captured, how could Auntie Bai care so much? She casually tossed Hai Tian to the side. Auntie Bai unleashed a strong aura and charged forward. Her body merged with the heavens. When she took a step forward, the world moved with her. The cultivators in her way were all knocked into a mess, tumbling everywhere. Yi Ling and Chu Yang reacted. Their faces sank at the same time as they soared into the air and quickly gave chase. In a moment of desperation, the aura that the two burst out with was actually no weaker than the small perfection blue-robed emperors. The two exchanged glances. They could tell that the other had held back. Their true strength was not as simple as it looked on the surface. However, at this moment, this matter was urgent. There was no time to overthink. Chasing after the person was more important. Chapter 1059. If something happened to the Holy Daughter after she was kidnapped, the Lunar Palace would definitely not sit by and do nothing. Both of them would be blamed. Boom! The sounds of intense fighting came from ahead. Aunt Bai, who was the first to rush out, seemed to be obstructed. Aha! My brother Mo is indeed someone who can do great things. No wonder he is not willing to work with us to kidnap the Holy Daughter. It turns out that he wants to do it alone. When the two of them looked over, they saw 4 men emitting an unruly and sinister aura, blocking Auntie Bai's path. Although Auntie Bai was suppressing the 4 of them, she couldn't get rid of them for a while. Batu. When Chu Yang saw the person who spoke, he revealed a grave expression. Yi Ling's face sank. He said in a cold voice, "How bold! The descendants of the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea are truly lawless. To think that they dare to behave atrociously in the treasure master's residence. Brothers, let's go." Batu laughed loudly. When he saw the experts of the treasure master's residence surrounding them, he quickly led his 4 subordinates in retreat. The 4 worked together, and each tossed out a peak-grade astral core. The astral cores expanded in the air, and horrifying energy surged out. The light illuminated the entire treasure master's residence, forcing back the experts of the treasure master's residence and Ant Bai. When the light vanished, the few minor pirates of the Black Sea were no longer there. They gathered together and exchanged glances. More people ran out of the Great Hall. After they understood the situation, their minds were filled with confusion. They could not accept this fact. The Lunar Palace's holy daughter had been openly carried away before everyone's eyes. There was probably nothing more absurd than this. Who exactly was this Xiaochen? Why did he kidnap the holy daughter for no reason? Senior Bai, this matter happened in the treasure master's residence. Yi Ling is willing to bear full responsibility. I will definitely bring the holy daughter back unharmed within 3 days. Yi Ling was rather magnanimous. His words contained strong confidence. Ant Bai thought of some possibilities. Then she said indifferently, I am very clear on what kind of person your grandfather is. I can also completely trust the treasure master's residence's faction in the 10,000 treasure sea market. However, I hope that you do not need to make a move on this matter. The Lunar Palace will not vent their anger on others. As soon as she finished speaking, Ant Bai's figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. Yi Ling entered deep thought. The Lunar Palace's holy daughter had been searching for doctors for the past few years. This time, when she came to the 10,000 treasure sea market, she had visited several grandmaster alchemists. His own medical skills were already unparalleled in the world. Yet he still needed to find a doctor. This had always been an unsolved mystery. Now that he was mysteriously kidnapped, Ant Bai's attitude was so vague. It really made people curious. However, since the other party had spoken, it was naturally not good for him to interfere. However, he still had to figure out Mo Yun's identity. Since when did such a person appear in the heavenly starry ocean? Xiaochen had no idea at all. He made up his mind to expose Mo Yun's identity. Chu Yang's expression wavered. He felt that he could not see through this person. Aside from the white robes, he could not find any connection between Mo Yun and Xiaochen. However, his intuition told him that this person was most likely the Blue Dragon King, Xiaochen. He was the one who beat up Fu Hongyao and nearly disfigured him. At this moment, Xiaochen needed to get to the bottom of this. Even if he used all the power of an immortal holy land, he had to figure out this person's identity. The others left quietly. Great waves of fear surged in their hearts. They were destined not to sleep tonight. The Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet appeared, and the holy daughter was kidnapped. Furthermore, not long ago, the Blue Dragon King, Xiaochen, instantly killed one of the 8 blue-robed emperors. The heavenly starry ocean, which had been peaceful for a long time, felt like a storm was brewing as the hero gathering was about to begin. On the other side, Xiaochen carried Yu Bingyun, whose cultivation was suppressed, and rushed away. After he left 10,000 Treasure City, he immediately unfurled the freedom wings and flashed into the distance. One step took him 50 kilometers. After 10 breaths, he was already 500 kilometers away. Xiaochen put away the freedom wings and calmly landed on the surface of the sea. Then he looked around. After making sure that there was no one around, he put Yu Bingyun down. Sorry, I do not have any malicious intent. It is just that the expert beside Miss seems to be prejudiced against me, so I had no choice but to do this. Xiaochen got straight to the point, once again expressing that he did not have any malicious intent, and telling Yu Bingyun not to worry. Yu Bingyun was already angry in her heart. When she heard this, she became even angrier. Naturally, she could guess what Xiaochen's purpose in carrying her away was. It was nothing more than the matter of 10 years of her lifespan. It would have been fine as long as they talked things over. However, this fellow did not know what was wrong with him. To think that he went through so much trouble, not hesitating to cause a huge commotion in the treasure master's residence, forcefully carrying her away. What was he thinking? I told Ant Bai to pay more attention to him, fearing that something might happen to him. However, he misunderstood that I was prejudiced against him. Thinking of this, Yu Bingyun was so angry that she started laughing, feeling helpless. No matter what, she had finally achieved her purpose. She also had some things that she wanted to discuss with him alone. Yu Bingyan rested for a while before saying calmly, "I know what you want to say. However, I am powerless to do anything about it. Your cultivation of the physical body has taken a wrong turn. It is too harsh on the body, and the medicines for treating injuries have not kept up. Now, even if a divine doctor appeared, he would not be able to save you. Of course, if you can reach Emperor Wu's level within 5 years, reconstructing the golden body would not be a problem." To Yu Bingyan, the latter part of Xiao Chen's words was just nonsense. She could tell that the Mo Yun before her had an extraordinary background. He had already reached the initial stage of blue-robed emperor. It was practically impossible to break through the vast chasm between blue-robed emperor and Emperor Wu within 5 years. Only during the ancient era, when the martial Tao was at its peak, did a small number of outstanding people have such accomplishments. Even the unrivaled Qing emperor of the later ancient era took 8 years to break through this stage. Xiao Chen entered deep thought and asked, "What will happen after 5 years?" "After 5 years, even if your lifespan is not up, you will lose the chance to advance to Emperor Wu's level. Your withered and aged physical body will no longer be able to reconstruct the golden body." "Do I really only have 5 years left?" Xiao Chen's heart sank. Clinging to his last hope, he said, "Your sex longevity art. It's useless. When you were carrying me earlier, I secretly took your pulse. I discovered that your physiological lifespan has been delayed by 10 years. You should have a divine body nourishing art on you." Yu Bingyan interrupted him, directly extinguishing his last hope. Yu Bingyan interrupted Xiao Chen's words, directly extinguishing his final hope. "The effects of the longevity art are no different from the divine body nourishing art that you know. The situation is irreversible. You have already delayed it by 10 years. Even if you use the longevity art, it will not have any effect." Aside from advancing to martial emperor within 5 years, there was no other choice, which was equivalent to a dead end. Xiao Chen could not help smiling in disappointment. He was filled with hot-bloodedness and lofty aspirations. It looked like he was about to reach the peak and realize his grand ambitions. Unexpectedly, just as he was about to reach the peak, he met with such a great calamity. Along the way, he had fought countless strong enemies in the past 12 years. Encountering such a calamity made him feel very dissatisfied. In the current Kunlun realm, 10,000 years had passed in all directions. There had never been anyone who used only 5 years to cross the chasm between the heavens and the earth. Even the Qing Emperor took 8 years. Blue Dragon King, you have been unrivaled for half your life, filled with glory and fame. Your path has been filled with legends. What is there to be dissatisfied with? If you can accept it, as long as you scatter your cultivation and stop cultivating, you can live a peaceful life. Living for more than 100 years would not be a problem. Yu Bingyun's tone was calm and peaceful. "You guess my identity?" Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes as he looked at this mysterious holy daughter, who he could not see clearly. "When you used the blue-robed emperor's cultivation to instantly suppress me, I already guessed it." Xiao Chen smiled and said, "The holy daughter's eyes are pretty good. Unfortunately, while you can guess my identity, you cannot guess my heart. I have defeated countless enemies in my life. No one can avoid defeat. How can I fall on myself? We will meet again in Bright Moon City 1 year from now. I will personally come to claim the Dragon's Gates mountain tablet." Yu Bingyan gaped slightly. How could he leave just like that? She still had something to ask. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yu Bingyan looked around and saw a few figures flying over. She somewhat understood why Xiao Chen left. "Miss Bingyan, are you all right?" Chu Yang and Yi Ling, who arrived at nearly the same time, slowly landed on the surface of the sea. An expert with extremely strong auras stood behind each of them. Yu Bingyan took a quick look and knew that they were the blue-robed emperor's great perfection cultivation base. In the shortest time possible, the two of them summoned their strongest strength and rushed over as fast as they could. After the two sized up Yu Bingyan, they looked into the distance, in the direction that Xiao Chen had fled in. Under the night sky, there was no one in the vast sea. "Unfortunately, we came too late and let that scoundrel escape." Chu Yang sighed softly, his eyes filled with heavy doubt. Yiling withdrew his gaze and whispered, "Holy daughter, you had best return quickly. This person still has companions. I wonder if the descendants of the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea have gone far." Yu Bingyun found this strange. The descendants of the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea? Why are these fellows here? If not for this group of people suddenly appearing, Mo Yun would not have left 10,000 Treasure City so easily. Whoosh! Then several figures flew over. It was Hai Tian, Gong Sunyan, and the others. They led the quasi-emperor guards they had hidden in the dark and charged over. After asking around, Hai Tian said through clenched teeth, "Miss Bingyun, after we return, we should immediately put up a notice to summon all the holy lands of the entire heavenly starry ocean to capture this person." Shang Guanyun and the others all agreed, saying that they had to kill this brat. At the banquet, Mo Yun had beaten these people into sorry states, turning them into a big joke. They wished that they could kill Xiaoqun now. Yu Bingyun thought for a while and said, "There's no need. Something went wrong with his cultivation, and he has only 10 years left to live. He only came to me to ask me about some things, and did not have any intention of harming me. Furthermore, he has a deep relationship with my lunar palace. We can't be considered enemies. There was just a misunderstanding." Yiling's eyes lit up. He said, "Based on what the holy daughter means, you seem to know a lot about this Mo Yin?" Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said, "Not only do I know a lot about him, but the few of you should also be familiar with him. He is the Blue Dragon King, the white-robed Xiaoqun who swept through the younger generation of the Kunlun continent." The few of them immediately gaped, tongue-tied, unable to say anything. This news caught them somewhat off guard. However, since it came from the Lunar Palace's holy daughter, it could not be wrong. Whoosh! A piercing light flashed, illuminating the night sky. Without saying anything, Chu Yang led the Great Perfection blue-robed Emperor experts behind him in pursuit. Chapter 1060. So he is Xiaoqun, the one who killed my Divine Dragon Palace's blue-robed emperor. To think that I misjudged him. A murderous intent flashed in Hai Tian's eyes. He and his guards quickly followed Chu Yang, charging over. The other outstanding talents reacted. Killing chi surged out of their bodies as they gave chase without saying a word. Only the young treasure master, Yiling, showed a contemplative expression. The Great Perfection blue-robed emperor beside him did not rush to give chase. Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said, "Young treasure master, are you not going to join in the excitement?" Yiling smiled and replied casually. Miss Bingyun chose this moment to reveal Mo Yun's identity. "You guessed correctly. Chu Yang's group will not be able to catch up to Xiaoqun. Young treasure master is still as smart as you were many years ago. In terms of intelligence, only the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young master, Lung Xiaofan, can surpass you in the heavenly starry ocean." Yu Bingyun's face, which no one could see clearly, seemed to reveal a rather cute expression. Yiling smiled self-mockingly. "Haha. Unfortunately, even if the two of us work together, we are not even a tenth of Miss Bingyun's. Miss Bingyun seems to have something to ask of this Blue Dragon King. What is it? Why don't you tell me? Although I am not as dazzling as the Blue Dragon King, I believe that I am somewhat capable." Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said, "Young Master E is being too humble. To be able to reach the young treasure master's level among the hundreds of the treasure master's grandchildren. How could he only be somewhat capable? He might even be able to compete with the Blue Dragon King. Furthermore, if this Blue Dragon King continues to temper his physical body, he will only have 10 more years to live. However, this is my matter and has nothing to do with strength. Might I ask if young Master E knows who in the heavenly starry ocean knows the immortal epic's alchemy?" Yiling felt slightly stunned. Then he frowned and said, "I heard that the immortal epic's alchemy is not kept in the Penglai Sea. No one knows it, and it has been lost for a long time. Could it be that this Blue Dragon King knows it?" "Most likely, so young Master E won't be able to help me with this." Indeed, I can't help you. However, I do have a favor that I need the Saintess's help with." "What help?" Yu Bingyun revealed a curious look in her eyes. Yiling said unhurriedly, I received news that several major characters are preparing to work together to go to the heart of the ocean in half a month. If I have the Saintess with me, I think I have an 80% chance of escaping unscathed. Finding it strange, Yubingyan asked, which major character is he so unafraid of death, even daring to barge into the heart of the ocean? There are a few Emperor Wu who are nearing the end of their lifespans, or are facing a bottleneck in breaking through. Of course, they are prepared to risk their lives and go deeper. We just need to walk around the corner. It turned out that it was Emperor Wu, who was nearing the end of his lifespan, and was preparing to break through to the next level. It was not hard to understand why these people had the heart to fight to the death. Yubingyan thought for a while before saying, if they only take risks in the corners, they can retreat easily. However, the various sea domains have entrances to the heart of the ocean. Where do they intend to go? The Southern Sea's Despair City. Otherwise, I would not have obtained this news. Yiling smiled faintly and said, I'll send Miss Bingyan back to 10,000 Treasure City first. He waved his hand, and a bright light fell from the sky. 8 divine steeds with fur that looked like fiery glaze came down. An ancient and luxurious golden chariot flew down like a fireball, illuminating the night sky. The treasure master really dotes on you. With this war chariot, whether I go or not, at least your life will not be in danger. Yubingyan sighed softly. Clearly, she knew many secrets about this golden war chariot before her. Yiling did not deny it. The blue-robed emperor often takes risks in Despair City. Furthermore, there will definitely be others who obtain this news. Having one more person would be much safer. The two rode the chariot back to the city. As for the group, they chased for 5,000 kilometers under the starry night. However, they could not find any leads and could only return in frustration. On a lonely island in the vast sea, Xiao Chun, who had escaped long ago, sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. Vaguely, between reality and illusion, Xiao Chun stood before the chasm between heaven and earth. Bridge piers had already taken shape on both sides of him, looking resplendent with dragon heads carved on them. With a thought, Xiao Chun sank his spiritual sense to his dantian. The motes of heavenly laws were like liquefied electric light, forming an extremely blurry blue dragon seal. As Xiao Chun breathed, it absorbed the energy of the world. This was the heavenly seal, the predecessor of the heart of an emperor. Everyone's physique and cultivation technique were different. There were thousands of variations, and it was hard to find an identical heavenly seal. The blue-robed emperor's cultivation was to condense the heavenly laws of these motes of electric light into a solid heavenly seal. Then it would form the heart of an emperor, truly connecting to the world. At that time, the dragon bridge between the chasm would reach the other side, and the emperor's door would descend from the sky, descending into the real world. It was easy to say, but the difficulty was indescribable in a few words. To materialize more than 10,000 points of liquefied heavenly laws would require an unknown amount of natural energy. In any case, Xiao Chun felt that the Holy Spirit vein in the universe ring was barely enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. At the very least, he needed 100 Holy Spirit veins to materialize 10,000 heavenly laws. In the post-ancient era, Holy Spirit veins were extremely rare. No one would be so extravagant as to use them to cultivate. This stage was something that required time. Furthermore, this was just small perfection for the blue-robed emperor. He still had to spend time to gather the materialized heavenly laws together. Only after forming the heavenly seal could the blue-robed emperor be considered to have reached great perfection. After great perfection, the heavenly seal would form a soul. Only then would the blue-robed emperor be considered to have reached peak consummation. After that was the most crucial and dangerous step. Undergoing the great tribulation of wind and fire, evolving the heavenly seal into the heart of an emperor. After that, one could become Emperor Wu, reconstruct the golden body, and ascend to the great Tao. Each stage took an unknown amount of time. Many people guarded it for their entire lives, exhausting their lifespans, yet they could not make it to the third stage. Many people put in a lot of effort to clear the 3 stages, only to get burned to death in the great tribulation of wind and fire. What was the chasm of heaven and earth? This was the chasm of heaven and earth. Crossing it meant the difference between heaven and earth. However, the time left for Xiao Chen was only 5 years. 5 years. If Xiao Chen did not advance to martial emperor within 5 years, he could live for only 20 years. If he continued to destroy his body during these 20 years, his physiological lifespan would decrease even further. Ao Jiao remained silent in the immortal spirit ring. After she learned that the blue dragon body nourishing art and the longevity art could not help Xiao Chen, she had not said a word. Xiao Chen tried to tease her a few times, but she did not say anything. Little Ao Jiao, what's wrong? Do you not have any confidence that I can advance to martial emperor within 5 years? Xiao Chen said with a faint smile as he opened his eyes. Are you confident? The silent Ao Jiao suddenly asked. Naturally, he was not. Even the Qing emperor took 8 years. Even if Xiao Chen reached the level of the Qing emperor, he would not be able to escape death. Xiao Chen only had 5 years left. If he did not advance to martial emperor within 5 years, even if he cleared the great tribulation of wind and fire, his heavenly seal would not be able to evolve into a heart of an emperor. However, confidence was not important. The most important thing was not to give up on working hard. That was impossible. There was clearly little hope, yet Xiao Chen was still very confident. How was that any different from lying to himself? As the saying goes, there will always be a way out. This is not wrong. However, if the car breaks down before it reaches the mountain, even if there is a way out, you will not be able to take it. Even if there is a path, you will not be able to walk it. Ao Jiao, you understand what I mean, right? Xiao Chen recalled the words that many people in his previous life used to comfort themselves when they were in dire straits. That was right. There was always a way out. However, opportunities always came to the prepared. Regardless of whether Xiao Chen was confident or not, he could not give up or stop working hard. Once he gave up, it would really be a dead end. Ao Jiao thought about it twice before she understood Xiao Chen's meaning. She smiled and asked, "What do you plan to do now? Are you going to change your plans?" Xiao Chen's original plan was to sell off the miscellaneous items and profound martial techniques on him before buying secret treasures containing dragon souls and cultivating the first layer of the blue dragon body nourishing art. After that, he would go to the Forbidden Land and take away the Despair Throne. After that, he would go to the Northern Sea to meet Long Fei and find a backer for Heavenly Star Island. Finally, he would return to Heavenly Star Island and meet up with Kim Taeho and Lan Xiaobai. He would do his best to develop Heavenly Star Island as the first step to reviving the Dragon's Gate. However, along the way, there had been too many surprises. Now that he knew about the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet, he definitely could not return so early. This was the last remaining mountain tablet of the Dragon's Gate. No matter what, Xiao Chen had to snatch it back. I should go to Despair City first and take away the Despair Throne. Xiao Chen stood up and took out the sea chart. Then he searched for his own sea chart. Xiao Chen had left in too much of a rush last night, so he did not pay attention to where he was going. Xiao Chen had used the Freedom Wings continuously, and had already arrived at the end of the Southern Sea. If Xiao Chen continued forward, he would enter the Desolate Sea. It was a boundless sea, barren and deserted with few people. Just as Xiao Chen put away the sea chart, a soft cracking sound came from his body. With a thought, he opened his mouth and spat out the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. Xiao Chen went forward to take a look. He saw the solar true flame and the smooth golden crow egg. Cracks appeared on it at a visible rate, cracking rapidly. Xiao Chen was somewhat surprised that the golden crow egg had hatched 1 month earlier. Joy appeared on his face. He could finally see the true appearance of the legendary divine bird that could turn into the sun. Quick! Infuse your essence blood into it. Otherwise, it will fly away. Ao Jiao exclaimed urgently after she reacted. Xiao Chen's expression changed, and a strand of blood shot out from his fingertip. It turned into a beam of red light and flew towards the golden crow egg. Ka! However, Xiao Chen was too late. Just as the blood was about to touch the golden crow egg, it shattered. A golden light the size of a square centimeter spread out. This caught Xiao Chen off guard. He was temporarily blinded, and his vision turned pitch black. Xiao Chen circulated his heavenly laws and quickly recovered his vision. Then he squinted and saw the sky. A clump of light that was not inferior to the blazing sun was flying quickly to the east. Xiaochen vaguely sensed the golden crow in the sky. Xiaochen could feel the fear, panic, and fear in the little fellow's heart. It looked like that drop of essence blood had entered the little fellow's body at the last moment. For a long time, Xiaochen's solar true flame had been incubating the golden crow. The two had an invisible, unbreakable connection. All Xiaochen had to do was wait for the golden crow to tire of flying and comfort it. When the essence blood completely merged with the golden crow's blood, the golden crow would treat Xiaochen like a relative and would no longer be like this. Suddenly, Xiaochen's expression changed as he looked in the direction of the golden crow's departure. Oh no! It is heading to the solar star. To Xiaochen, that place is a hopeless situation. Unless one was a martial emperor, one would not be able to enter. One needed the strength of a sovereign martial emperor. Chapter 1061. However, to the golden crow, it was like a fish in water or a dragon in the sea. Xiaochen's unmerged drop of essence blood would probably evaporate in the sun. How could he just watch the golden crow, which he had waited for so many years, fly away at the critical moment? Xiaochen's face sank as he quickly chased after the golden crow on the water. The two suns competed with each other, creating mysterious phenomena. Fortunately, this was the desolate sea. If it were anywhere else, who knew what kind of trouble it would cause? Bang! 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 With every step Xiaochen took in the vast sea, he kicked up countless towering waves. His body moved like a roaming dragon as he weaved through the huge waves. Strong winds blew, and the waves surged endlessly. As Xiaochen watched the golden crow spread its wings in the sky, he felt both startled and happy. He was happy that the little golden crow was so fast even though it had just been born. He executed his movement technique to its limits, nearly tearing space apart. However, that was all he could ensure that he would not lose track of the golden crow. What shocked him was that this guy just kept flying. He was really going to be flown away by it. Fortunately, the golden crow's intelligence was not fully developed yet. It could only fly according to its senses. If it knew how to break through the barrier of the sky, it would have flown out of the starry heavens long ago. At that time, there would be more variables. At the very least, there would be no outsiders in the desolate sea for now. No one would compete with him. As he ran, the blazing sun rose and fell. 7 days passed just like that, but night had yet to fall. There was no other reason than the golden crow existing. The sun would never set in this desolate sea. After 7 days of intense running, Xiaochen did not feel tired. However, if he continued running like this, he would soon leave the desolate sea. The sea map did not indicate where the desolate sea was, so Xiaochen did not know. If he ran into an expert, he would be in trouble. Just at this moment, Xiaochen suddenly felt extreme fear in the golden crow in the sky. Xiaochen looked up and saw an arrow carrying the force of a thunderbolt shooting towards the golden crow in the sky at lightning speed. If this arrow hit, the newly born golden crow would definitely die. Oh no, Xiaochen thought to himself. He had to use 10 times his combat power again. He knew that he couldn't use a heaven-defying art like tenfold in the current state of his physical body. However, at this moment he had no choice but to use it. Xiaochen clenched his teeth and executed the myriad heaven-divine fists deities descending as he ran. The divine light tore through the sky and entered Xiaochen's body. Above the sea, Xiaochen shouted and leaped up. The emotions that he had been suppressing for the past 7 days burst out at this moment. 100 illusionary heaven dragons appeared behind Xiaochen. The dragons roared furiously and exploded with a shocking aura. The shockwaves they created caused the seawater within 50 kilometers to be lifted into the air, creating a magnificent scene. Xiaochen soared into the surging seawater. Tiny spatial cracks appeared in the void as he rose higher and higher. Xiaochen, whose speed had surpassed his limits, appeared behind the golden crow like a flash of light. He reached out and grabbed the palm-sized golden crow in his palm. Before Xiaochen could take a closer look at the golden crow, the arrow that could tear through the sky had already flown over. Xiaochen narrowed his eyes, and his left hand did its best to grab the arrow, firmly grasping it. The skin on Xiaochen's hand immediately tore. and he felt a fiery pain as a huge force assaulted him. Xiao Chen shouted and stomped on the air. The strength of the blue-robed emperor burst out, driving the power of the world. No matter how great the force of the arrow was, his body remained steady in the air. Xiao Chen looked in the direction where the arrow came from. At the highest point of an island 10 kilometers away, a boorish and bold man drew his bow, preparing to shoot a second arrow. Xiao Chen's gaze turned cold. He turned his head back, and the arrow in his left hand shot back at an even faster speed. The boorish man was clearly startled. However, he reacted very quickly. He pushed off the ground and flew away. Boom! Xiao Chen's backhand arrow struck the mountain peak under Xiao Chen's feet, shattering it into countless cracks. Whoosh! The mountain shattered, and dust filled the air. A beam of light tore through the dust, quickly flying toward Xiao Chen. It turned out to be that boorish man. As he retreated, he did not stop shooting. Xiao Chen frowned. This person's archery skills were extremely terrifying, forcing Xiao Chen to use the strength of the blue-robed emperor before he could receive the arrow. The heavenly laws in his dantian drained rapidly. Xiao Chen took a step forward, and the space around him flashed, showing many scenes. Using the power of the world, Xiao Chen kicked, knocking away the arrow at the critical moment. Pooh! 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 9 sonic booms rang out. 9 arrows appeared in the distance, flying over from different directions and angles. Xiao Chen did not know what secret technique this person used, but the arrows actually contained the power of the world. This made the arrows flying over vaguely feel like they were flying along with the void of the world. That was not all. The 9 arrows flew over from different angles, each occupying a position and forming a cage of heaven and earth. No matter how Xiao Chen retreated, the world moved with him. When the 9 arrows closed in, they would always lock onto Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's expression turned somewhat grave. The golden crow in his palm trembled. After flying for 7 days, the moment it relaxed, it fainted. Xiao Chen placed the golden crow in his chest and pushed off with his feet, spinning his body backward. A bright moon like fire, red peach blossoms, a blazing sun, withered leaves, and many mysterious phenomena came out of Xiao Chen's body. Xiao Chen used the power of his heavenly laws to execute instant of glory again, merging it into the world. The chaotic mysterious phenomena, and the grand scene looked very real. It lacked some of the magnificence but gained a sense of completeness and nature. When the saber was drawn, a light appeared. The glory was eternal in that instant as the saber light swept out in all directions. Bang! 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 Crunching sounds rang out as the 9 deadly arrows exploded in the air. Their boundless might easily crumbled. Quickly go. After the desolate sea, it is the sea region ruled by the myriad fiend island, an immortal holy land. Ao Jiao warned from the immortal spirit ring. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and somersaulted in the air. Xiao Chen flew 10 kilometers and spun around in circles, giving off a flickering electric light. A ferocious lightning dragon howled into the distance. A boorish and bold man drew his bow on the small island. Even as Xiao Chen fled far away, becoming only a small black in his vision, he did not give up. As the boorish man slowly drew the bowstring, thunder roared in the world, rumbling everywhere. A vertical eye opened on the boorish man's forehead. Xiao Chen, which was originally just a small black instantly magnified in his vision. Suddenly in his eyes, it was magnified endlessly. It was as if the space had shrunk by half, and the figure in his eyes was getting closer. When the boorish man saw Xiao Chen clearly, his fingers loosened, and the arrow in his hand turned into a bolt of lightning, flying for his life. After shooting this arrow, the boorish man collapsed. His vertical eye slowly closed, and sweat covered his forehead. His complexion was pale, drained of blood. Xiao Chen, who was already more than 50 kilometers away, suddenly felt his heart sink. He quickly turned around, and his mind instantly tensed up. Without any hesitation, he held his saber horizontally across his chest. Wuxia. The scabbard blocked the arrow, and Xiao Chen flew back 1 kilometer on the water, kicking up huge waves. Xiao Chen's complexion paled slightly, and cracks appeared in his internal organs. Intense pain spread throughout his body. Only after vomiting a mouthful of blood did he feel much better. Is there no end to this? When the arrow's momentum weakened, Xiaochen flicked the scabbard and knocked it away. Then he spiraled up and threw a palm strike from 50 kilometers away. A bright moon rose up behind him. The moon was like fire, fueled by thousands of kilograms of hot-bloodedness. The Tao was filled with joy and sorrow, parting and reunions, expressing lofty sentiments and hot-bloodedness. The wine was an intoxicating red, and the blood was a beautiful flame. Thousand-year flame, lofty sentiments remained forever. The Tao was filled with joy and sorrow. Aside from that boorish man, there were two other people on the small island, a man and a woman. The man was definitely familiar to Xiaochen. He was the strongest person of the killing sword Tao, Yin Shisan. This person is very powerful. He looks very young, but he easily broke second brother's 9 stars shattering Sunday. He even opened his heavenly eye and executed the killing arrow. Even so, he could not stop this person. The woman exuding a mature charm exclaimed as she looked into the distance at Xiaochen, who caught the arrow. The bow-wielding man was called Mu Qingyan. Fatigue appeared on his face. He smiled bitterly and said, I have been in closed-door cultivation on Myriad Fiend Island for many years. I originally thought that no one in the same generation could defeat me. Unexpectedly, before I left the Myriad Fiend Sea, I suffered such a blow. Brother Shisan, you have been traveling the heavenly starry ocean for the past few years. Are the experts of the same generation in the heavenly starry ocean really so incredible? Mu Qingyun had used his full power, unleashed his trump card, and unleashed this arrow with absolute confidence. However, the other party still blocked it in the end. Mu Qingyun could not help but feel dispirited. He even started to doubt his own strength. Yin Shisan's stern face did not show any expression. He said calmly, How can that be? It is just that you ran into someone you should not have. This arrow injured the Blue Dragon King Xiaochen. As far as I know, this is the first time he suffered such a loss among the same generation. You should be proud of yourself. He is the Blue Dragon King Xiaochen. That woman's expression clearly turned startled. When Mu Qingyan heard this, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. He knew Yin Shisan's character very well. Yin Shisan would not purposely flatter others. By saying this, Yin Shisan was praising him. Yin Shisan could be proud of himself without any falsehood. However, even after unleashing all his trump cards, he only managed to injure the other party. Given Mu Qingyun's proud character, he could not bring himself to smile at such praise. Suddenly, Yin Shisan's expression changed slightly, and he shouted, Retreat! However, by the time Yin Shisan said that, it was already too late. Night suddenly fell, and a bright moon rose into the sky. The moon was like fire, illuminating the night sky and the island under their feet. Countless figures leaped out of the full moon. Every one of them had a wild and unruly smile, filled with lofty aspirations and lofty aspirations. It was like a resonant song could be heard in the world, singing to the moon, drinking and rejoicing, laughing at the sorrows and joys, parting and reuniting. Everyone is drunk. I am the only sober one. Others cannot see through me. Don't laugh at me for being too crazy. I am proud and arrogant all my life. 1,000-year flame, 10,000 men kill. The moon exists alone. I am wild. The thousands of figures threw palm strikes at the same time. The small island 50 kilometers away crumbled in an instant. The bow-wielding man bore the brunt of it. His internal organs ruptured, and blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. If not for the inherited treasure armor he wore, he would have vanished along with the island, dying without a complete corpse. Yin Shisan and that woman suffered relatively little pressure. Furthermore, they were in their peak states. They only drifted far away with the chaotic flow of the island's crumbling. Chapter 1062. The pretty girl appeared to be in a sorry state. However, Yin Shisan appeared much more relaxed. He did not even draw his heavenly ice sword yet. The girl stabilized herself and searched for the bow-wielding man's body with a flustered expression. When she saw the other party lying in the seawater, she heaved a sigh of relief and quickly flew over. However, it was not over yet. Right after the palm strike, another azure-colored saber chi shot out, splitting the seawater in half. Then, Dragon roars rang out from all directions as the saber-chi headed for the bow-wielding man. When the pretty girl saw this startling saber-chi, despair involuntarily appeared in her eyes. She could not catch up to the speed of this saber-chi at all. When she landed beside the bow-wielding man, she would probably see his corpse split in half. At the critical moment, the stern Yan Shursan quickly drew his sword. A sword intent of massacre spread out, clashing with the dragon might, not giving way. Dang! In the time it took for a spark to fly, the sword blocked that saber-chi. 18 forces, each stronger than the one before, layered over each other, and entered Yan Shursan's body through the sword. Blood leaked out of Yan Shursan's lips. His body spun 10 times in the air, kicking up countless waves. Only then did Yan Shursan stop in the air. He looked into the distance and thought to himself, I was still too careless. After not seeing him for so many years, the strength of this old friend of mine has already surpassed my expectations. To think that a saber strike from 50,000 meters away could still have such might. Second brother, are you all right? The pretty girl asked anxiously when she landed beside the severely injured youth. Mu Qingyan smiled and said, I won't die. Never mind. Let's wait for Big Brother to come out of closed-door cultivation before going to Despair City. I really embarrassed myself at home this time. Seeing that Mu Qingyan could still joke, the pretty girl relaxed. She smiled and said, It's fine, it's fine. Since young Master Shursan said so, you can be proud. When Mu Qingyan saw that Yan Shursan broke that vast saber-chi, he could not help feeling bitter. Mu Qingyan could not defeat the Blue Dragon King. It looked like this Yan Shursan hid his strength, and was probably not a match for him, either. Originally, Mu Qingyan was filled with pride, preparing to leave the 10,000 Demon Sea and show off his skills. Now he knew how many heroes there were in the world. Someone had blocked the subduing dragon profound slash. Xiao Chen extended his divine sense, and discovered that the one who had blocked it was someone he knew. The profound domain swordsman Yan Shursan, who wandered the heavenly starry ocean, actually appeared in the sea region ruled by the myriad fiend island. This was somewhat unexpected. Since it was Yan Shursan, the moment Xiao Chen drew his saber, Yan Shursan should have recognized him from his martial technique. After sensing for a while, he found several strong auras in the sea region behind him, startled over. Xiao Chen did not linger, he turned around and walked away. It was not that he had to kill the person who shot the arrow. He just wanted to teach him a lesson. Are you all right, Xiao Chen? Seeing that his face was still pale, Ao Jiao asked worriedly. Xiao Chen shook his head, but when he thought of that last arrow, he still felt a lingering fear. If he did not have a peak 4th level saint body, that arrow would have at least severely injured him. There were many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the heavenly starry ocean. Sometimes this was very contradictory. Xiao Chen's strong physical body allowed him to remain undefeated among those of the same generation, not fearing any experts. Just like earlier, it could be said that this physical body saved his life. If not for this physical body, he would have died several times over. Now, it was this physical body that brought him the greatest danger on his path of cultivation. Hence, there was no need for Xiao Chen to regret cultivating his physical body like a mad demon over the past few years. There was also no need for him to regret using his tenfold combat prowess, bringing hidden dangers to his physical body. There were always pros and cons between gains and losses. After he was safe, Xiao Chen landed on the surface of the sea. Then he casually tossed out a wooden plank from his universe ring and sat on it, drifting along with the water. Xiao Chen took out the little fellow from his embrace. The palm-sized golden crow fell into a deep sleep. The golden crow's pale yellow feathers were soft and glossy. It was petite and looked very cute. Xiao Chen could not feel any of the tyranny it had when it competed with the sun earlier. The might of a holy beast was nowhere to be seen. Xiao Chen felt somewhat suspicious. The golden crow that he had chased for 7 days and waited for 2 or 3 years could not be a scammer, right? After sizing up his surroundings, Xiao Chen tapped the golden crow's head with his right hand, trying to figure out what kind of existence it was. Pooh! The moment Xiao Chen's finger touched the golden crow's forehead, the sleeping golden crow startled awake. Then it opened its beak and spat out a golden flame. This was the solar true flame, which had been condensed to its limit. It seemed to have surpassed the limits of fire. It was just a beam of light, a resplendent beam of light. The flame was aimed at Xiao Chen's face. If it struck him, he would really be disfigured. Xiao Chen felt slightly startled. He tilted his head slightly, and the golden flame brushed past his face. After the flame shot out for 1 kilometer, it burned the air. When Xiao Chen turned his head to take a look, he was greatly startled. The place where the flame burned was pitch black. When he blinked, it looked like space had been burned through. The flame that the golden crow, which had just been born, spat out already possessed such might. No matter how many martial sages there were, they would be burned to ashes. Even Grandmaster-level martial sages would not be able to withstand this flame. However, it would still be somewhat difficult to injure the blue-robed emperor. However, this was just a newly born golden crow. It still had a vast and boundless room for growth. Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. After the little fellow spat out the flame on his palm, it glared at him with intelligent eyes, appearing very proud. That drop of essence blood had already completely merged into the little golden crow's body. Xiao Chen should have a rather close relationship with it now. Otherwise, the golden crow would have flown away the moment it woke up. However, when he looked at the little fellow's expression, it seemed like it looked down on him, making him feel depressed. Little golden crow, spit out another flame. Let me see. Xiao Chen wanted to see exactly how great the golden crow's potential was. However, the golden crow turned its head away, ignoring him completely. It looked like Xiao Chen had no choice but to reveal some of his true abilities. Eehee. What a cute little bird. Is this really a holy beast? Just at this moment, Ao Jiao came out of the immortal spirit ring and snatched the little golden crow away. Then she started playing with it with her fingers. Xiao Chen was just about to cry out in danger. Who knew, the golden crow did not flare up in Ao Jiao's hands. Instead, it became extremely docile. The golden crow closed its eyes, appearing to be enjoying itself. This made Ao Jiao very happy. This was clearly different from when Xiao Chen played with it. Little fellow, let big sister see what abilities you have, Ao Jiao said happily. The golden crow cried out and spread its wings, circling in the air. Suddenly, its feathers gave off a bright light, dazzling everyone's eyes, competing with the sun's brilliance. Boom! The golden crow opened its beak and spat out a flame. This flame was clearly much stronger than the earlier one. The surface of the flame flickered with a golden spiritual light. When it entered the seawater, pitch-black holes 100 meters long silently appeared on the surface of the sea. The flame's temperature was too high. There was not even any water vapor. The seawater directly vaporized and burned into nothing. The little golden crow circled around and withdrew its light. Then it landed back in Ao Jiao's hand. Excellent. Ao Jiao praised sincerely. The solar true flame of such quality was truly horrifying. Creak. Creak. The little fellow seemed to understand Ao Jiao's praise. It cried out happily and flapped its little wings on Ao Jiao's palm, looking very cocky. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly. Whose pet is this? I spent a lot of effort to hatch this golden crow egg with my solar true flame. Furthermore, I even infused my essence blood into it. Why is it so intimate with Ao Jiao now? Don't be jealous. Little Yellow Feather is a boy. It is normal for it to be closer to me. Ao Jiao giggled as she stroked the golden crow. How do you know it is a boy? Xiao Chen exclaimed in shock. Suddenly he reacted and asked, Wait, what did you call it earlier? Little Yellow Feather. Don't you think this name is very appropriate? Ao Jiao smiled and said, Little Yellow Feather, Little Yellow Feather. Look, it likes this name. The golden crow, a bona fide holy beast, was like the blue dragon, a mythical existence of the immortal epic. Unexpectedly, it was called such a name. Xiao Chen was speechless. However, when he thought about the name Ao Jiao gave by, he felt somewhat at ease. However, no matter how he listened to it, the name Little Yellow Feather sounded like a name given to a cat or dog. What's wrong? You don't like the name I gave it? Ao Jiao asked with a stern expression. When the golden crow in Ao Jiao's palm saw Ao Jiao's stern expression, it also glared at Xiao Chen angrily. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly and said against his will, It doesn't matter. Little Yellow Feather, just call it Little Yellow Feather. Ao Jiao said, that's right. It said that it is hungry. Give it something to eat then. What does it want to eat? Xiao Chen asked. Astral cores. Regular spirit pills can only be fed to spirit beasts. Holy beasts need astral cores from astral beasts. Ao Jiao was very familiar with this. Xiao Chen still had quite a few astral cores on hand. Without hesitating, he tossed out an inferior grade astral core. Cassier. Little Yellow Feather swallowed an inferior grade astral core. It seemed like it did not even need to chew before digesting it. Xiao Chen tossed out 10 inferior grade astral cores in a row. However, Little Yellow Feather did not seem satisfied at all. Xiao Chen tossed out a total of 100 astral cores. Only then did Little Yellow Feather fly back to Ao Jiao's shoulder in satisfaction. Then, it closed its eyes and yawned in a very human-like manner, falling asleep. Xiao Chen's face twitched slightly. One inferior grade astral core was worth 1,000 black astral coins. 100 inferior grade astral cores would be 100,000 black astral coins. Furthermore, this was just the amount Little Yellow Feather could eat in one meal. How could Xiao Chen afford to feed it like this? He would go bankrupt. Ao Jiao could tell that Xiao Chen was worried. She smiled and said, "It's fine. As long as it does not fight, it will not eat so much. Place it in the Holy Beast Medallion then." That Holy Beast Medallion is a precious secret treasure specially made for holy beasts during the ancient era. The space in it can allow holy beasts to grow faster. When Xiao Chen heard this, he relaxed slightly. If Xiao Chen had to spend 100,000 black astral coins for each meal every day, that would be very troublesome. The 10,000 beast images in the Holy Beast Medallion were no longer there. The 10,000 beast cauldron in Xiao Chen's hand was only an imitation of an emperor-grade secret treasure. At this cultivation realm, Xiao Chen no longer cared about it. Furthermore, he did not have the Jiang clan's special cultivation technique. Thus, he made a move on it back at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Without the 10,000 beast images, Xiao Chen could use them to raise Little Yellow Feather alone. This bona fide holy beast would have a much better future than those images. Chapter 1063. After putting Little Yellow Feather into the Holy Beast Medallion, Xiao Chen thought for a while before handing the Holy Beast Medallion to Ao Jiao. Ao Jiao remained in the Immortal Spirit Ring, tending to the flowers and plants. With this little fellow accompanying her, it would be more lively. Ao Jiao smiled gently and received the Holy Beast Medallion. Then, she returned to the Immortal Spirit Ring, her face filled with joy. After looking around, Xiao Chen sat down cross-legged and started to circulate his energy to treat his injuries. That mysterious fiend race cultivator's final arrow tore through space and ruptured Xiao Chen's internal organs, which was not a good feeling. Floating on the vast sea, Xiao Chen sat on a wooden plank and let the water flow. Xiao Chen's injuries were not severe. After recuperating for half a day, he recovered completely. However, since Xiao Chen had used the myriad Heaven Divine Fist deities descending earlier, he did not dare to be careless this time. He took out a King Great Essence nourishing pill and recuperated for 2 days before opening his eyes. A brilliant light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes as he muttered to himself, "It is time to go to Despair City." The note that Long Fei sent during the king conferral ceremony mentioned the news of the Despair Throne. Despair City was a famous underwater forbidden land in the Southern Sea. The construction of the city could be traced back to the Immortal Epoch. This was an ancient city that had experienced the vicissitudes of time. The city had fallen into ruin long ago, no longer as prosperous as it had been in the past. Even his original name had been gradually forgotten by people. Due to the perpetual aura of despair that lingered in the city, it came to be known as Despair City. If one did not have a firm will, the intense despair would make one abandon the world and do something unimaginable like committing suicide. However, for experts who wanted to temper their wills, this place was an excellent holy land. When Long Fei first heard news about Despair City, he had determined that it was because of the Despair Throne that the city had become like this. However, Long Fei did not know where the Despair Throne was, so he only gave this clue to Xiao Chen. Aside from the aura of despair, the city also had deep-sea profound beasts, which only existed in the sea. Profound beasts were said to have evolved from immortal beasts of the immortal epoch. Even the lowest-ranked inferior-grade profound beasts were as strong as Grandmaster-level martial sages. Medial-grade profound beasts were as strong as great Grandmaster-level martial sages. Superior-grade profound beasts were existences that even the blue-robed emperor feared. As for the sage-grade profound beasts, they were as strong as Emperor Wu. They were absolute overlord-level profound beasts. Profound beasts must have profound cores within their bodies. Different types of profound cores could increase the corresponding martial artist's power. Superior-grade profound cores could even increase the strength of quasi-emperors. They were extremely profound and unfathomable. As for the saint-grade profound core, there was no need to even think about it. That kind of existence already possessed extremely high intelligence and stood at the top of the food chain. If one encountered it, one should avoid it as far as possible. Some profound kings had had many more than that. Wu even had feared profound beasts. Some king. The bones were engraved with mysterious martial skills or powerful magical powers. Hence, it would not be too surprising to run into immortal cultivators of the Penglai Sea in Despair City. They were immortal cultivators who came to try their luck and search for magic skills. Furthermore, Despair City had a long history. There were remnants everywhere. If one happened to see an ancient mural, they might be able to break through their bottleneck and advance further. As the holy land of adventure in the Southern Sea, Despair City lived up to its name. Xiaochen had found out about this public information on his own. As for what kind of place Despair City was, he had to go and see for himself. "Ao Jiao, have you been to Despair City?" Xiaochen asked. Back then, the Thunder King should have been to the heavenly starry ocean. Ao Jiao came out of the immortal spirit ring and revealed an expression of reminiscence. After a while she said, "Despair City, what a distant name. The Thunder King went there in a hurry once before." However, he did not stay in Despair City for long before he entered the heart of the ocean. Now several thousand years have passed. I don't even know what it is like. The heart of the ocean. Hearing these words again, Xiaochen could not help feeling curious. Ao Jiao noticed Xiaochen's doubts. She smiled and said, "The heart of the ocean, the Mirage Immortal Palace, the Black Sea Immortal Burial Ground, and the distant Sea Dragon Grave are the 4 great forbidden lands of the oceanic world. Even Emperor Wu has to be careful in these places. There are 4 similar forbidden lands in the Kunlun continent as well. The 8 great forbidden lands contain countless mysteries. There are all sorts of divine medicines and forbidden treasures. They even contain the secret of the immortal epic's destruction. The heart of the ocean is one of the 8 great forbidden lands. It is the most mysterious forbidden land. All the places in the sea that are connected to it are holy lands of adventure." Xiaochen asked doubtfully, "What do you mean by that?" Ao Jiao smiled and said, "Let's not talk about the entrances to the heart of the ocean in the other sea regions. Just the treasure mountain that you went to and the Despair City that you are about to go to are all connected to the heart of the ocean, which is why they are holy lands of adventure." Have you ever wondered why the profound beasts in Despair City can never be completely killed? Profound beasts do not have a strong reproductive ability. Most of the profound beasts come out from the entrance to the heart of the ocean. Xiaochen suddenly understood. He asked, "What is the Thunder King going to the heart of the ocean for?" Ao Jiao's thoughts seemed to return to several thousand years ago. She said, "To find the answer, not to ask the heavens, not to believe in gods. Only to ask oneself, is there really a peak in the world? After Prime, is there a martial god? Martial god again." Ing Zongtian asked the same question. The Thunder King asked the same question back then. The ancient evil king, the master of the 7 thrones, asked the same question as well. Is there really a peak in the world? Ao Jiao chuckled and said, "Hee, don't overthink it. All you need to do now is find the Despair Throne." Flap. Little yellow feather flew out of the holy beast medallion at Ao Jiao's waist. After not seeing it for 3 days, the color of its feathers had deepened, and it seemed to have grown bigger as well. The most obvious change was in its eyes, which now looked more intelligent and filled with light. After digesting more than 100 astral cores, it should have some effect, Xiaochen thought to himself. Little Yellow Feather says that it is hungry again and wants you to prepare food for it. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. This fellow was rather ostentatious. After feeding it 10 inferior-grade astral cores, the little fellow cried out in satisfaction. Then it flew around the two happily. Just looking at the current Little Yellow Feather, no one would imagine that it was the legendary holy beast, the Golden Crow. 10 days later, Xiao Chen successfully arrived at the sea region near Despair City. Along the way, he heard some news. The Lunar Palace's holy daughter, Yu Bingyun, revealed Xiao Chen's identity. If he did not advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years, he would have only 20 years left to live. This news immediately shook the entire heavenly starry ocean. At first, Xiao Chen felt somewhat confused. After asking around, he found out. Back then, a few outstanding talents had forced Yu Bingyun to issue a notice, getting all the immortal holy lands and major factions of the heavenly starry ocean to issue a bounty for Mo Yun. Only then did Yu Bingyun expose Xiao Chen's identity, sparing him a lot of trouble and preventing him from being hunted down wherever he went. After learning the ins and outs, Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. When many people heard this news, they would probably be grinning from ear to ear. However, it did not matter. It was still the same old saying. Between gains and losses, there were pros and cons. Whoosh! Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he calmly dived into the sea. After descending for about 10 kilometers, he felt a faint sense of despair. Naturally, given Xiao Chen's mental state, he could not be influenced by this. He followed the guidance of the sense of despair and continued moving forward. Soon, the sea in front suddenly emptied. When Xiao Chen opened his mouth, he breathed in fresh air. When he looked down, a vast, ancient city appeared before his eyes. An invisible barrier spread out from the city, isolating it from the seawater. Compared to the desolation above the sea, the outskirts of Despair City were extremely bustling. There was a bustling market outside the city gates. Merchants walked around, and cultivators set up stalls to sell their goods. There were taverns, pharmacies, inns and shops everywhere. After Xiao Chen thought for a while, he landed in the town. There were many cultivators like him who risked their lives to seek treasures. After Xiao Chen landed, countless attentive cultivators immediately walked over with smiles on their faces. Aha! This young master, with one look, I can tell that this is your first time in Despair City. I have been in Despair City for more than 10 years, and am well informed. If you want to purchase the medicinal pills corresponding to the map, I have information on all sorts of profound beasts. If you feel that you are too weak to go alone, I can find a few companions for you to adventure with. As Xiao Chen stood firmly, a martial monarch came over to pester him as well. That martial monarch gave a long speech. It was unknown how many times he had repeated this. As the saying went, one relied on one's surroundings to survive. A martial monarch was like an ant before a grandmaster-level martial sage. Normally, the difference between them was like heaven and earth. It was impossible for them to befriend each other. However, at this moment, this person relied on his familiarity with Despair City to strike up a conversation with Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen sized up this person. This person was dressed in gray robes and looked to be in his 40s. His potential had already been dug out, and he would remain a martial monarch for the rest of his life. Xiao Chen could see the shrewdness of a merchant in this person's eyes. The flattering smile on his face had already become a habit. This person's identity could not be fake. Xiao Chen said, "You are only a martial monarch. You cannot even enter Despair City. How do you know the information inside?" The gray-robed cultivator smiled and replied, "My information comes from the taverns. Furthermore, I have been here for a long time, so I have some special methods. For example, the map of Despair City that I have is not something that just anyone can obtain." Based on the gray-robed cultivator's words, the organization behind him should have a significant power near Despair City. Where there were people, there would be chaos. Xiao Chen was not willing to waste time on this. He said calmly, "Give me the most detailed map of Despair City, and you may leave." "Since you are alone, do you not need to find other Grandmaster-level martial sages to accompany you?" the gray-robed cultivator asked. Xiao Chen's gaze sank and he said coldly, "Did you not understand what I said?" What kind of joke was this? This was not Xiao Chen's first day out adventuring. How could he casually form a companion with a stranger in such a place? Furthermore, he did not need a companion at all. The gray-robed cultivator's heart skipped a beat. He no longer had any other thoughts. He said timidly, "Yes, yes, yes. The map is for you. 1,000 black astral coins. Young master, don't find it expensive. This map contains the entire Despair City, where there are remnants, where there are profound beasts, and what rank they are. It is all very clear. Furthermore, the price is set by the clan that sells the map." Chapter 1064. You get what you pay for. If you want something a little worse, I have it here. Xiao Chen received the map and took a look. Seeing that it was not wrong, he happily handed over 1,000 black astral coins. Just at this moment, a startled cry rang out. Above Despair City, there were 8 majestic horses. Its fur was like a blazing flame, pulling a golden war chariot. It descended, heading straight for Despair City. Young Treasure Master Yiling's war chariot. What's going on recently? Why are there always outstanding talents coming to Despair City? I heard that the Holy Son of the Five Poison Sect is also preparing to rush over from the Eastern Sea region. The 4 titles of the Heavenly Province Academy and Susu from the Inyang Utopia are also here. Could it be that some great treasure is about to appear in Despair City? A lot of soft exclamations came from the town. A thought occurred to Xiao Chen. He asked the gray-robed cultivator beside him. Have there been any changes in Despair City recently? Do you have any news? The gray-robed cultivator smiled profusely and said, I know a little, not much. When he saw the astral coins that Xiao Chen handed over, he smiled in satisfaction. Rumor has it that a few great fiends that have lived for thousands of years are nearing the end of their lifespans. Together with some major characters, they are preparing to enter the heart of the ocean to see if they can find an opportunity to change their fate. When he said that his lifespan was nearing its end, he should be referring to his natural lifespan. He wanted to find a divine medicine to extend his lifespan. Xiao Chen pondered for a moment. His natural lifespan was still very long, but the problem lay in his physiological lifespan. This kind of divine medicine was useless to him. He had a longevity fruit with him. After consuming it, there was almost no effect on his body. These geniuses are just trying their luck by following behind the big shots. Without a big shot to scout the path in the heart of the ocean, they wouldn't even dare to go to a corner. The gray-robed cultivator continued. However, the major characters have not arrived yet. These outstanding talents can only search Despair City casually, and see if they can find anything. After all, there are many good things in Despair City. After obtaining the information he wanted, Xiao Chen pondered for a moment before walking into Despair City. After the gray-robed cultivator turned around, the flattering expression on his face vanished, replaced with an expression of pity. The person in front of him was generous, so he must have an extraordinary background. Unfortunately, he was too cautious and was not a newbie who had just come out for experiential training. If he had agreed to enter with someone else, he would have had more opportunities. Unfortunately, the fat sheep had flown away just like that. As he walked, Xiao Chen looked at the map. Suddenly, despair turned into howls ringing in his ears, causing him to hallucinate. Despair? What was despair? There was no way to retreat, no way to advance, besieged on all sides, all hope shattered. It was just like Xiao Chen now. Advancing to martial emperor in 5 years was hopeless, his path shattered. He had a handsome face, his white robes fluttering. He had a saber, and he could see. His face was delicate and pretty, and his white robes fluttered. A treasured saber hung at his waist, and his strong aura stirred up the wind and clouds. He would that Chen's s, but his. Only he had Chen eyes. Chenri. He. Xiao Chen. Xiao the Chen. He at. Thousands of strands of saber chi shot out from the white-clad youth's body, riddling his body with thousands of holes. After laughing loudly, he jumped into the chasm, committing suicide. I hate the heavens for being unfair, cutting off my path of life, cutting off my hope. Before he died, the white-clad youth's despair and hatred reached a peak, lingering for a long time. Despair was truly painful. Xiaochen calmly watched everything in the illusion. Then he squinted and easily struggled free. When he looked up, he discovered that he had arrived at the city gates without realizing it. A strong wind blew continuously from the city gates, bringing with it the howls of despair. This was the reason for the earlier illusion. How scary! I'm not going to Despair City anymore. Not far away, several superior grade martial sages, who were preparing to hunt profound beasts, struggled free from the illusion. These superior grade martial sages paled, and their bodies trembled as they retreated continuously. There were also a few who had not struggled free from the illusion. They held their heads in pain and rolled on the ground. Their companions quickly dragged them away. As they looked at the pitch-black city gates, their eyes filled with horror. Bunch of trash. If you are not capable, then don't try to enter Despair City. Make way for this young master. Dong, dong, dong. The sound of hooves rang out. Xiaochen turned his head to look and saw a group of cultivators riding tall horses, shouting as they charged at the city gates. Aside from the youth leading the group, the other cultivators were all older. Unexpectedly, they were all great grandmaster level martial sages. It's the 5 poison sex people. Quickly go. Quickly go. The people lingering at the city gates immediately moved to the sides, not daring to block the way. After the immortal Holy Lands, the 5 poison sect had the worst reputation. They were tyrannical in their way of doing things and specialized in using poison. Ordinary people did not dare to offend them. Only an immortal Holy Land could send out so many great grandmaster level martial sages. Not wanting to cause trouble, Xiaochen moved to the side. However, when he turned his head back to size up this group of people, he wasted some time and slowed down. Pa! Rage flashed on the face of the youth leading the group. Then he lashed his horsewhip at Xiaochen. Stop wasting time. You are seeking death. The force behind this whip was extremely great. The sound of the horsewhip tearing through the air was ear-splitting like thunder. The air buzzed and trembled continuously. The youth who lashed out was a grandmaster-level martial sage, not much weaker than Hai Tian, Gong Sunyan and the others. He probably held a high position in the 5 poison sect. Xiaochen leaned to the side and grabbed the horsewhip. Then he casually pulled it back. That youth flew off the horseback. Before he could react, Xiaochen flung him into the city walls. Without even looking at this group of people, Xiaochen's figure flashed, preparing to enter Despair City. Trying to leave. Stop him. The youth who crashed into the city walls grunted in pain as he hurriedly gave out orders. Whoosh! Sonic booms rang out. Xiaochen had returned, passing through the 2 great grandmaster-level martial sages blocking him. Then he turned around and kicked the youth in midair. Cassie! Cassie! The sound of bones breaking rang out, and that person howled in pain. Then he flew back again, unable to resist at all before Xiaochen. When the other great grandmaster-level martial sages saw the situation, they quickly retreated and rushed over to the youth. Xiaochen landed and turned around to look at the city gates, deep in thought. Despair. This phrase really suited him now. Heaven never bars one's way. He did not know if he could find a way out of this desperate situation in Despair City. Xiaochen simply showed off his strength. The group of immortal Holy Land's great grandmaster-level martial sages looked at Xiaochen's back, not daring to act rashly. These great grandmaster-level martial sages had very good eyesight. Naturally, they did not think that Xiaochen was just an ordinary great grandmaster-level martial sage. Do you dare report your name? Our 5 poison sect will definitely pay you a visit in the future. One of the great grandmaster-level martial sages said sullenly, rage burning in his eyes. Xiaochen. After spitting out these 2 words, Xiaochen walked calmly into Despair City. Xiaochen. The Blue Dragon King Xiaochen. The moment these 2 simple words came out, the arrogant aura of the 5 poison sect inner sect elder, who asked the question, immediately diminished significantly. Everyone knew that Xiaochen had already reached the level of the blue-robed emperor. Even if this group of people worked together, they would not be a match for him. As for accumulations, the Bushan Palace's accumulations were much stronger than the 5 poison sects. This was especially so when Xiaochen had the Prime, the Thunder King, behind him. Without sufficient benefits, even if the 5 poison sect's Emperor Wu came, the 5 poison sect would not dare to do anything to Xiao Chun. How could the 5 poison sect's martial emperor experts care about this trivial matter? You bunch of trash. Didn't my brother tell you to protect me? The youth lying on the ground cursed as he watched Xiao Chun leave. A few of the elders revealed awkward expressions and whispered, "Second young master, that person is the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chun. Even if we work together, we are no match for him. Why seek trouble for ourselves?" Yes, and he only has 20 years left to live. If he's unlucky, he might die even faster. Second young master doesn't have to be angry with him. After a long time, the young man slowly calmed down. Outside the city gates, when the cultivators saw the miserable and humiliated young man, they all revealed delighted expressions. Only the Azure Dragon King could deal with the tyrannical 5 poison sect, which usually did things in a tyrannical manner. Even the sacred sons of the other immortal sacred grounds were fearful, but they did not dare to be as unruly as the Blue Dragon King. With a single kick, the other party lost his temper. After reporting his name, he didn't dare to say another word. This was true tyranny. Unfortunately, such a person was destined to die young. It was simply impossible for him to advance to martial emperor within 5 years. After entering the city, Xiao Chun focused on guarding his heart. The despair lingering in the air could not affect him at all. In reality, if Xiao Chun had not wanted to take a look at the city gates, the illusion of despair would not have appeared before him. Most of the buildings in the city were dilapidated. Few were intact. With a glance, one could see countless tall buildings and broken walls. The environment was extremely complicated. The aura of despair spread everywhere. Every brick and tile seemed to carry a natural characteristic of despair. This gave Xiao Chun a lot of trouble in finding the despair throne. He needed to find the source of despair. However, the aura of despair in the city was almost the same everywhere. There was no obvious difference. In the past few thousand years, Xiao Chun was definitely not the only one who wanted the source of Despair City. However, the name of despair still remained. This meant that all those people had failed. Finding a throne in this vast city was not a simple matter. Xiao Chun took out a map of Despair City and carefully looked at it. Although the city was dilapidated, there were several remnants that were still perfectly preserved. The sword mound, the drill ground, the city lord's residence, the sage plaza. Xiao Chun moved his finger along the markings on the map, counting them carefully. There were truly a lot of famous ancient remnants. After thinking for a while, he stretched out his hand, and the cycle banner flew out of the universe ring. The 4 astral pearls, massacre, death, ruin, and grief flew out. Life bestowal spell. Xiao Chun formed hand seals and shouted. With the life bestowal spell, the 4 astral pearls turned into 4 little birds of different colors and flew out. The 7 thrones should be able to sense each other. These 4 little birds did not need to have a destination when they flew out. They could just fly around randomly. If they were lucky, they might run into one. Roar! Right after the little birds flew, a profound beast that looked like a lion but had wings and a snake-like tail appeared in Xiao Chun's vision. Chapter 1065. Inferior Grade Profound Beast, Snake Lion. Based on the information on the map, Xiao Chun immediately identified the incoming creature, and felt somewhat suspicious. Xiao Chun was in a safe zone. A profound beast like the snake lion that lived in groups should not appear here alone. Without much time to think, the snake lion with a ferocious look in its eyes spread its wings and flew at Xiao Chun at lightning speed. Pussy eye. It arrived quickly and died quickly as well. Xiao Chun casually kicked this inferior grade profound beast, shattering its bones and splattering blood everywhere. If other cultivators saw this scene, their eyeballs would pop out of their sockets. Normally, 2 Grandmaster-level martial sages would be needed to deal with an inferior-grade profound beast. With one kick, Xiao Chun exploded it. What a horrifying scene. A suction came from Xiao Chun's palm, and a dark-colored pearl flew into his hand amid the scarlet light. This is a profound core? Xiao Chun sized it up, and discovered that the energy it contained was indeed pure. If a Grandmaster-level martial sage directly consumed it and refined it, It would have boundless uses. However, as the blue-robed emperor, Xiaochen did not care for this inferior-grade profound core at all. Even a superior-grade profound core, that an ordinary blue-robed emperor could refine would not be of much use to him. The energy in such a profound core was pure enough. However, there were too many impurities. Expelling the impurities from the body would be problematic. Xiaochen wondered if little Yellowfeather would like this profound core. Given the golden crow's ability to swallow, it could ignore the impurities completely. If Xiaochen liked it, he could help it find some snacks to eat to relieve some of his pressure. Just a casual meal cost more than 100,000 black astral coins. No one would be able to accept that. When the little golden crow heard that there was food to eat, it rejoiced and flew out of the immortal spirit ring. It looked pitifully at Xiaochen, as obedient as it could be. The little golden crow swallowed the profound core in one gulp. From its human-like eyes, it first felt great. Then it looked like it ate feces, feeling extremely disgusted. Pussy. The little golden crow spat out a clump of black stuff like it was spitting saliva. When Xiaochen saw it, he immediately smiled. What it spat out was all impurities. The essence was perfectly absorbed. Not bad, not bad. I'll go look for snacks for you. Hong. The little guy opened its mouth and spat out a stream of flames toward Xiaochen, showing its great strength. Xiaochen smiled happily and dodged it easily. Let's see if you still dare to be cocky. In the future, I'll let you eat shit every day. No, it's eating a profound pill. Little Yellowfeather continuously spat out flames at Xiaochen. However, Xiaochen easily dodged them. Flustered and exasperated, little Yellowfeather could only fly back into the immortal spirit ring. Xiaochen, little Yellowfeather said that you bullied it. What's wrong? Ao Jiao asked in confusion as she consoled the golden crow from the immortal spirit ring. It's nothing. Don't listen to this little guy's nonsense. I'm working hard to find snacks for him. It said you gave it poop. Xiaochen smiled awkwardly. How is that possible? Do you think the Blue Dragon King is such a narrow-minded person? Then little Yellowfeather is lying? Definitely. After you teach it a lesson, I'll find some poop for it first. That's not right. It's a profound pill. A profound pill containing immortal qi. Xiaochen accidentally let the cat out of the bag, so he quickly stopped himself and chased after the snake lion. The desolate ancient city was in ruins. The wind rustled endlessly, and an aura of despair pervaded the place. A white figure leaped between the rubble, going further and further away. The Blue Dragon King had a smile on his face as he bickered with Ao Jiao. There was no sign of despair on his face. Xiaochen landed firmly and silently on a broken wall. When he saw the scene in front, he revealed an expression of understanding. He now somewhat understood why the snake lion ran out of its territory. A wolf-shaped profound beast covered in pitch-black fur stood on a flat, empty ground, slowly chewing on the corpses of a few snake lions. The black profound wolf was a king-grade inferior-grade profound beast. Most medial-grade profound beasts were no match for it. The ferocious snake lions were like lambs before the black profound wolf, unable to resist at all. Since it was a king-grade inferior-grade profound beast, the immortal beast bloodline it contained would definitely be much purer. The value of its profound core would increase tenfold. My luck is pretty good. Not long after, I ran into a king-grade profound beast. With a smile, Xiaochen squatted down and sat on the broken wall. Then he took out the bright moon folding fan and watched the black profound wolf eat with a relaxed expression. As Xiaochen waited, he tried to sense the astral pearls that he had turned into a small bird flying around. However, he did not find anything, so he withdrew his spiritual sense. The black profound wolf, which was happily eating, did not notice a pair of eyes not far away leisurely waiting for it to finish eating. Finished eating? Before you die, you should be satisfied with a full meal. Xiaochen smiled faintly. Then he stood up and announced the black profound wolf's death sentence. Who knew something strange happened at this moment? A flying sword descended from the sky, quickly heading for the black profound wolf. It was like a star falling, kicking up a strong wind. Sand and pebbles flew, and dust filled the air. A strong aura spread out, making it difficult to open one's eyes. Xiaochen squinted slightly. A flying sword. This was a bona fide flying sword, a magic treasure of immortal cultivators. Flying swords were the most commonly used magic treasures of immortal cultivators. There were strong ones and weak ones. The one that descended was clearly not weak. Otherwise, it would not have such a huge commotion. This person would not have dared to risk coming to Despair City. Xiao Chen had often heard that immortal cultivators searching for magic skills in Despair City. He was somewhat surprised to run into one. Could it be that this black profound wolf was extraordinary? Its skeleton contained the markings of a great Dao magic skill? Thinking of this, Xiao Chen's figure flashed backward, hiding. Xiao Chen had been withdrawing his aura. Otherwise, the black profound wolf would not have been so close to him without discovering him. If Xiao Chen wanted to hide, it would be very hard for the immortal cultivators to find him. As an inferior grade king profound beast, the black profound wolf already possessed the strength of a great grandmaster level martial sage. The person who came should not be able to kill it so easily. Xiao Chen decided to observe first. Dang! The black profound wolf noticed the strange movement. A ferocious light flashed in its eyes as it roared ferociously. Then the black profound wolf stretched out its palm and smacked the flying sword back, giving off a metallic clang. At this moment, Xiao Chen, who was in the dark, clearly saw the person who arrived. It was a young immortal cultivator who looked to be in his 30s wearing blue Taoist robes. When Xiao Chen saw this person's face, he found it somewhat familiar. After thinking for a while, he was stunned. It is actually him. After the flying sword was smacked back, the blue-robed cultivator clearly suffered some minor injuries. However, immortal cultivators were best at manipulating magic treasures. In a situation where magical powers were hard to find. The combat prowess of immortal cultivators mostly depended on their magic treasures. Indeed, when the blue-robed cultivator saw the flying sword smacked back, he formed hand seals with both hands, and a flaming metal net flew towards the black profound wolf. The flaming metal net grew larger, covering an extremely large area. Seeing that it would not be easy for the black profound wolf to escape, it swung its claws, flickering with a sharp, cold light. Just as the flaming metal net was about to descend, the black profound wolf moved its claws, trying to tear it apart. Who knew, the instant the flaming metal net descended, it suddenly shrank and firmly bound the black profound wolf. As the flames continued to burn, the black profound wolf howled miserably as it struggled with all its might. The flaming metal net looked like it would break at any moment. The blue-robed cultivator did not dare to be careless. He moved his fingers, and a few more flying swords appeared. This time, the black profound wolf could not dodge. The flying swords pierced it and pinned it to the ground. Controlling several magic treasures at the same time, the blue-robed cultivator appeared to be at ease, not flustered at all. He did not rush, waiting for the black profound wolf to bleed dry before putting away the flaming metal net. However, the 7 flying swords hovered in the air, remaining vigilant and cautious. When the blue-robed cultivator landed on the ground, he kicked the black profound wolf and cursed, "This beast is really strong. It can even easily smack my life flying sword back. Fortunately, I recently refined this golden flaming net. Otherwise, I would not be able to subdue this beast." After saying that, the blue-robed cultivator squatted down and formed hand seals with both hands. Light flickered as he gently tapped the black profound wolf's back. Immediately, a strange scene appeared on the black profound wolf's back. Its fur turned transparent and shiny, and flowing white lines appeared on its bones. The blue-robed cultivator rejoiced at first. However, when he saw that it was only white lines, he immediately felt disappointed. Damn, it's another ordinary magic technique. Magic skills are too hard to find. I cannot find a major magic skill. Even a minor magic skill is hard to find. I do have 2 minor magic skills that can be evolved into major magic skills. This fellow Taoist, do you want them? At some point in time, Xiao Chen had already appeared. He happened to be standing outside the line of the 7 flying swords. When the blue-robed cultivator heard the voice, he was startled and quickly retreated. When he saw Xiao Chen's face, his pupils constricted. The blue-robed cultivator pointed, and the 7 swords shot towards Xiao Chen like dragons piercing through the sun. Then he turned and fled. The 7 flying swords formed a line, displaying extraordinary might. Xiaochen did not dare to be careless. He sent out the beautiful mountain and river painting from his right palm. Xiaochen first blocked the fleeing blue-robed cultivator. Then he opened the folding fan in his hand and dealt with the 7 flying swords with all his might. Thousand frost battle snow, jagged bones. Snow flew everywhere, and a cold wind blew. The frost for 500 kilometers around was even colder than the wind and snow. As the folding fan flew, Xiaochen struck down the 7 flying swords. With his full power, the 7 flying swords were like toys to Xiaochen. Of course, if it were a great grandmaster-level martial sage, even an outstanding talent, they would not be as relaxed as Xiaochen. The natal flying sword of a nascent soul cultivator was no joke. On the other side, the beautiful landscape painting and the small world of mountains and rivers had completely suppressed the blue-robed cultivator, who had no natal dharma treasure. No matter what kind of magic treasures he used, he found it hard to contend against this immortal equipment that was missing a corner. If he still had his intrinsic flying sword, he might be able to pierce through the painting. But now he was completely helpless. Just as he was about to be sucked into the painting, fear flashed across the eyes of the blue-robed cultivator. He knew better than anyone how terrifying it was to enter the world within the painting. I surrender. Whatever you want to know, I will tell you. The blue-robed cultivator shouted. Xiaochen stretched out his hand and beckoned, and the beautiful mountain and river painting escaped into his palm. This blue-robed cultivator was none other than Xiaochen, who had been dealing with the Eternal Heavenly Sword School's matters in Hunluo province. The cultivator he encountered had yet to enter the nascent soul realm. Chapter 1066. After so many years, when they met again in Despair City, the other party had already become a nascent soul cultivator. By relying on the might of his magic treasure, he could even kill profound beasts equal to great grandmaster-level martial sages. If not for Xiaochen improving faster than him, it would be hard to say how things would have turned out. It looks like you still remember me and know that I have something to ask you, Xiaochen said indifferently. The blue-robed cultivator smiled bitterly and said, How can I not remember? I have been in the Eternal Heavenly Sword School all these years. The Blue Dragon King's name resounds like thunder in my ears. Tell me your name first. Feng Wuqing. As the blue-robed cultivator answered, he carefully looked at the 7 life-flying swords that the small carriage struck down. I know a little about immortal cultivation. I know the importance of a life-flying sword to a cultivator. If you want your flying swords back, you have to answer my questions honestly. Feng Wuqing knew that the blue-robed cultivator was telling the truth. Otherwise, he would not have been able to use the beautiful mountain and river painting. He said helplessly, Up to you. In any case, they are in your hands. It is impossible for me to run away. Very well. You said that you have been in the Eternal Heavenly Sword School. What have you been doing? Some hesitation appeared in Feng Wuqing's eyes. When he looked up and saw Xiaochen's cold expression, his heart trembled for some reason. He said, Nothing much. I just help with the preparations for refining the True Dragon Life Replenishing Pill. Why are you back now? Did you successfully refine the True Dragon Life Replenishing Pill? Feng Wuqing smiled and said, How can that be? With my alchemy skills, I can only make some preparations. Only my master can refine a medicinal pill that surpasses king grade. Now that I have nothing else to do, naturally, there is no need for me to remain there. Good. Let me ask you another question. Who is the True Dragon Life Replenishing Pill for? Feng Wuqing shook his head and said, I don't know. I was only in charge of filtering and refining the True Dragon remains. I was like an odd job worker. Xiaochen smiled and said, Odd job worker? Your master is really incredible. Just a casual odd job worker is already a nascent soul cultivator. He can even kill a black profound wolf by relying on the might of his magic treasure. This teacher of mine is really something. At least, if you go to the Eternal Sky Sect now, you won't even know how you died. If you think I'm exaggerating, a few of his prized disciples are also in Despair City. If you run into them, you'll know the truth. Feng Wuqing faintly smiled as he spoke, seemingly intending to provoke a conflict between Xiao Chun and his senior brothers. I will find out for myself whether it is true or not. You just have to figure out your own situation first. Let me ask you again. How much longer do you need to refine the true dragon life replenishing pill? Xiao Chun asked coldly. At the very least 2 years. For such a heaven-defying pill that can change one's fate, just the collection of the true dragon's remains took 100 years. Refining it is even more troublesome. Whether or not it will succeed is another matter altogether. Can the true dragon life replenishing pill extend physiological lifespan? Of course not. If extending one's natural lifespan is defying the heavens and changing one's fate, then extending one's physiological lifespan is cutting the heavens and seizing fate. They can't be mentioned in the same breath. Don't think too much about it. It looked like this Feng Wuqing also knew that Xiao Chun only had 20 years left to live. His tone sounded like he rejoiced in Xiao Chun's misfortune. Xiao Chun could not be bothered with Feng Wuqing. He waved his hand and said, "Take your flying sword and go." "You're letting me go just like that?" Feng Wuqing found this inconceivable. Xiao Chun smiled coldly and said, "What's wrong? You don't want to leave? Or do you want to force me to make you use your trump card before I'm satisfied?" Feng Wuqing felt slightly stunned. Then he smiled and said, "It is good to deal with smart people. Actually, the Eternal Heavenly Sword School does not have any secrets. It is just that my master owes the Eternal Heavenly Sword School's founder a favor. Helping him refine the true dragon life replenishing pill can be considered repaying this favor. However, you'd best not think of causing trouble. I'm not exaggerating my master's strength at all. Killing the current you would be easy." After Feng Wuqing said that, he put away his life-flying sword and immediately left. Whether it was true or false, Feng Wuqing could not come to a conclusion. Feng Wuqing had a trump card to protect his life that he could not bear to use. So Xiao Chun could not force the other party too much. If he forced the other party into a corner and used his trump card, it would be like drawing water with a sieve. At the very least, Xiao Chun now knew some useful information. The founder of the Eternal Heavenly Sword School was indeed not dead. He was still struggling at death's door, waiting for the true dragon life replenishing pill to extend his lifespan. As long as the other party was not dead, it would be fine. The clues to the mysterious death of the Thunder King would not disappear. "Xiao Chun, this matter happened several thousand years ago. It is best not to bother about it," Ao Jiao, who was in the immortal spirit ring, advised. Clearly, Ao Jiao was worried that the master that Feng Wuqing mentioned would send Xiao Chun to his death. Xiao Chun smiled and said, "Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Feng Wuqing's master might not be easy to deal with, but he is Emperor Wu, who relied on the life replenishing pill to survive. I might have a chance in 2 years." Xiao Chun. Ao Jiao continued to try to persuade him. Xiao Chun interrupted. "There's no need to say anything. You know my character. Once I have decided on something, I will not change my mind. Without the broken sword that the Thunder King left behind, I would have died at Seven Horn Mountain back then. Along the way, I know that I cannot repay you for how you helped me. However, no matter what, I have to do something. The Thunder King died for no reason. No matter what, I will not remain indifferent." Ao Jiao knew Xiao Chun's temper. She only sighed in her heart, and did not say anything more. Seeing that Ao Jiao did not say anything, Xiao Chun consoled her. "You know that I am not a rash person. I will not do anything rash. Right now, it is better to continue looking for snacks for little Yellow Feather." When Ao Jiao heard that, she giggled. After knowing the ins and outs of snacks, she laughed for a long time. Feng Wuqing's appearance was just a small interlude. It did not affect what Xiao Chun wanted to do. The 4 astral pearls turned into birds flying around the city randomly. However, they actually moved in a regular pattern, not repeating the places they searched. If this continued, Xiao Chun would find the source of Despair City sooner or later. It was just a matter of time. If Xiao Chun was lucky, he could find it in 1 day. If he was unlucky, he might even find it in a year or so. Xiao Chun was not in a rush. He casually strolled around the city, like he was taking a stroll. There were traces of history everywhere in the ancient city, enough for one to ponder for a long time. Occasionally he killed some profound beasts. Xiao Chen felt extremely relaxed. While Xiao Chen was in such a relaxed state, the other cultivators in Despair City clearly felt the undercurrents in the city intensifying by the day. The 6 immortal holy lands, the treasure master's inheritor, the genius immortal cultivators of the Prenglai Sea, and some famous loose cultivators like the blue-robed emperor appeared in Despair City one after another. Even a fool could guess that something big was going to happen in Despair City. Intense battles occasionally broke out between the various holy scions, who either did not accept each other or had grudges with each other long ago. Naturally, it was hard to avoid fighting when they ran into each other. However, the two sides stopped fighting when the time was right. They did not show any signs of fighting to the death. The loose cultivators at the level of the blue-robed emperor all endured silently, waiting patiently. To these loose cultivators, there were not many treasures that caught their eye in Despair City. Superior-grade profound beasts were not easy to deal with either. They just calmly waited for the major characters to appear. The heart of the ocean. Only the natural treasures in the heart of the ocean could attract their attention. It was rare for major characters to work together to enter the heart of the ocean when their lifespans were nearing the end. This opportunity could not be missed. Even though these people knew that the heart of the ocean was dangerous, they had to take the risk. 8 handsome horses pulled the golden war chariot, flying slowly in the sky of Despair City. The person driving the chariot was an old man, an expert of the treasure master's residence. He was a great perfection blue-robed emperor. Auntie Bai sat calmly in the back. However, she did not relax her perception for even a moment. An ancient, stern, golden statue filled with killing chi stood at each of the 4 corners of the war chariot. The young treasure master, Yi Ling, and Yu Bingyun stood on the war chariot, sizing up the environment of Despair City as they chatted softly. This is really unexpected. Unexpectedly, Despair City attracted all the demonic geniuses of the heavenly starry ocean. Yi Ling said softly. Yu Bingyun said calmly. There is still 1 more year before the 4 Seas Hero Gathering. This is a rare fortuitous encounter. Unless one is in closed-door cultivation, it would be hard not to be attracted. Haha. That's true. Aside from some remnants, the greatest mystery of Despair City is the location of the source of despair. Miss Bingyun, what do you think? Yu Bingyun smiled and replied. What opinion can I have? Several seniors have searched for it for thousands of years without finding it. For this treasure to be able to cover the entire city with the aura of despair, it must be of great value. If we can obtain it, we might be able to grasp the state of despair immediately. After studying it for a few years, it would not be difficult to comprehend the will of despair. Yi Ling said with some anticipation. Despair, massacre, and ruin. These were all high-level wills that were extremely hard to comprehend. Anyone who could obtain them with external help would be able to quickly increase their strength. Yu Bingyun could not deny this. However, no matter how much she said, it would be pointless. There seems to be people fighting in front. Yi Ling suddenly said. In the abandoned plaza, there were collapsed statues everywhere. A man in red clothes and a man who looked like a scholar were fighting intensely. Behind the two stood a group of people, all of them extremely strong. Furthermore, they all had the blue-robed emperor holding the line. However, the people behind the scholarly-looking man all had righteous expressions, extraordinary elegance, and refined auras. The group of people behind the red-clad man all looked unapproachable. They did not hide their tyranny or viciousness at all. One could even vaguely see all sorts of venomous creatures swimming around their feet. The youth that Xiao Chen taught a lesson at the city gate stood in the middle with an excited expression. He shouted, "Elder brother, teach this fellow a lesson. Let this group of bookworms know the power of our 5 poison sect." On the Golden War chariot, Yi Ling smiled softly and said, "The scholars of the Heavenly Province Academy are not bookworms. Tang Sun's younger brother is still as foolish as ever." The 5 poison sect and the Heavenly Province Academy were the Holy Lands. One was righteous, and the other evil. The two sides had always been at odds with each other. When they met, a fight would definitely be unavoidable. Roar! A dragon roar rang out, and 4 flood dragons pulling a dragon-shaped war chariot slowly appeared in the air. The young palace masters of the 4 divine dragon palaces gathered in the war chariot. The Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master, Lung Xiaofan, stood out from the crowd, attracting a lot of attention. Yiling's expression changed slightly. This fellow actually came as well. Chapter 1067. Suddenly, the light in the plaza turned incredibly dazzling. It was a flock of sunbirds carrying the Zodiac Hall's Chuyang and Fu Hongyao's group to this place. A flower boat filled with scantily clad young women flew over from afar, accompanied by cheerful laughter. On the bow of the ship, there was a beautiful and charming woman. She was an absolute beauty that could subdue the entire world, and she stood there quietly. Her clothes did not reveal a single strand of her skin. However, her exquisite figure and voluptuous figure were paired with her stunning appearance. She looked more alluring than any of the women on the flower boat. This was the Yinyang Paradise's holy daughter, Tong Susu. The moment she appeared, 80% of the surrounding men could not help looking over. Tong Susu smiled. Immediately, several cultivators with weak mental fortitude felt like their souls were about to leave their bodies. However, the next group of people that arrived immediately attracted everyone's attention. The demonic geniuses of the Myriad Fiend Island stood on a statue not far away, watching the two fight with interest. Mu Qingyan and Yin Shirsen were among them. However, the most eye-catching was a handsome man in beast skin. The Myriad Fiend Island's Di Xinhan with the heavenly spiritual body came out of closed-door cultivation. The heavenly spiritual body was a legendary physique, much stronger than the Thunder Flame War body. When the two in the plaza saw that more people gathered, they stopped after exchanging one move. The red-clad man stood proudly and looked at Di Xinhan. You actually came out of closed-door cultivation as well? Di Xinhan, you should know when the Myriad Fiend Island's great fiend will arrive, right? The 5 poison sect's holy scion asked the question that everyone wanted to know the most. Di Xinhan smiled and said, "Don't ask me. This group of seniors left Myriad Fiend Island half a year ago. Myriad Fiend Island does not have the authority to restrict them." Di Xinhan was the Myriad Law Fiend Master's descendant. Yet he did not know that a great fiend island would arrive on time. This was unexpected. Whoosh! Just at this moment, everyone's expressions changed. The aura of despair in the surroundings howled like a strong wind, surging in a certain direction at the same time. This someone found the source of despair. The endless aura of despair turned into a hurricane sweeping towards the west of the city. Everyone in the square could clearly feel the despair receding bit by bit, until it completely disappeared. On the golden war chariot, joy appeared in Yiling's eyes. He said, "It looks like someone really found the source of despair. Based on the direction, it is actually in the sword grave. I wonder who found it." The sword mound was a famous ruin in Despair City. It was an ancient treasure land with more than 10,000 swords stuck in it. There were famous swords, broken swords, treasured swords, and even heavenly weapons. But no matter what, a person could only draw once in the sword tomb, and they would have to face the joint chi of other swords. Tens of thousands of swords vibrated at the same time. The combined sword chi could even injure the blue-robed emperor. It was extremely dangerous. Moreover, after going there once, the sword tomb would remember your aura. Next time, before you could draw your sword, you would be attacked by the sword tomb as long as you got close. In Despair City, there were a few swordsmen who came to seek their luck. If they were lucky, they could draw a treasure sword. Then it would be worth it to suffer an attack from the blue-robed emperor. However, no matter what the quality of the swords in the sword mound was, most of them were unlucky. They suffered an attack from the blue-robed emperor, and even drew a broken sword. Hence, although the sword mound was famous, not many people visited it. The source of despair was hidden in such a well-known place. This was indeed somewhat surprising. Yu Bingyan entered deep thought. She knew that Xiaochen was in Despair City. When she found the source of despair, the first person she thought of was Xiaochen. She exchanged glances with Yiling. Clearly, they both had similar guesses. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Many figures appeared. The various immortal holy lands and the other outstanding talents all rushed to the sword mound without saying a word. The great fiends and major characters had not arrived yet. What else attracted the most attention in Despair City? Naturally, it had to be the source of despair. This was a treasure that countless people could not find for thousands of years. Now it was about to see the light of day again. How could they not be tempted? Come, let's go and take a look as well. Yi Ling's golden war chariot was a little late, but it was not slow, following closely behind the group. The two guessed that the one who found the source of despair was Xiao Chen. However, they guessed wrong. Inside a dilapidated palace hall, Xiao Chen looked at the mural on the wall with interest. The mural was very beautiful, depicting a grand banquet of immortals. The location of the banquet should be in Despair City. There were many people in the mural. Xiao Chen observed carefully. Apart from many cultivators in Taoist robes, there were also many bald monks and Confucian scholars. The Buddhists, Taoists, and Confucians all chatted merrily, drinking tea and discussing the Tao. While their words and actions appeared casual, they were actually fighting in secret. The most complete mural showed a monk with a golden lotus under his feet. As he spoke, the holy sound of the Buddhist sect turned into multicolored heavenly flowers. As he spoke, golden flowers bloomed everywhere. The man with the appearance of a Confucian scholar gently fanned himself with his folding fan. His eyes glowed with a divine charm, looking bright and spirited. As the man fanned himself, he spoke the words of the Confucian scholars, speaking in an orderly manner. This clashed with the golden flowers formed by the monk's Buddhist voice. The golden flowers moved up and down with his words, creating a wondrous scene. The cultivator in Taoist robes walked in the middle with a smile on his face. He did not speak, nor did he speak of the Dharma. However, he vaguely gave off a feeling that the great Tao was silent, and the great Tao was silent. The Tao was him, and he was the tyranny of the Tao. That was right. The feeling that this person gave Xiao Chen when he spoke was one word: tyrannical. It looked like the immortal epoch was an interesting age. The Buddhists, Taoists, and Confucians coexisted. The sages competed with each other. That would have been an extraordinarily bustling age. Now that the immortal Tao had collapsed, reincarnation no longer existed. Immortals no longer existed, and martial luck flourished. During the martial epoch, the later generations of the Buddhists continued to pass on their inheritance. However, the Qing emperor destroyed them 10,000 years ago. The Confucian sects had always existed. Now, the innate academy was the orthodox Confucian sect. The martial techniques and cultivation techniques in the sect were all derived from the Confucian immortal arts. However, the prestige of the Confucian sects was no longer as strong as before. They could now split the world into three. Furthermore, the inheritances of the sect were all obtained by the later generations, and were not complete. If one day, when Xiao Chen was free, he could go to the various ancient remnants and explore the secrets of the immortal epoch. That would be a joyous thing. After looking at the murals, Xiao Chen sighed in his heart. The immortal epoch would definitely be an even more majestic age. The world would not be limited to the Kunlun realm. Also, no one would ask if there was a martial god after Prime, which was a rather sorrowful question. All the cultivation realms and magic skill inheritances were complete. Xiao Chen frowned. He clearly felt the fluctuations of the aura of despair in the air. He looked to the west of the city and muttered to himself. Someone actually found the source of despair first. Xiao Chen took out the map and compared it with his finger. Then he pointed to the sword mound in the west of the city. It was actually in the sword mound. However, when he thought about it, it was highly possible. There were many swords in the sword mound. The sword refined by the despair throne was hidden among them. Furthermore, there was a large formation laid down below. There were swords of varying quality, so it would be very difficult for others to find it. This time, for some unknown reason, the sword was found. If Xiao Chen guessed right, it was very likely that it was a coincidence. Someone accidentally came into contact with that treasured sword with hidden mysteries. A chance of 1 in 10,000. This probability was pitifully small. No wonder no one had found the source of despair after so many years. With a thought, Xiao Chen summoned 4 small birds made of astral pearls. They turned into beams of light and quickly flew over. Then he unfurled the cycle banner. A shield of light appeared and collected the astral pearls. Now that someone had found the source of despair, the astral pearls of massacre, death, ruin, and grief were naturally useless. Although Xiaochen was somewhat surprised that someone beat him to it, it did not matter. Before the great fiends arrived, the major characters were not around. With Emperor Wu not making a move, Xiaochen was confident of snatching the source of despair. After leaving Despair City, Xiaochen stood on the sea and put on the Neptune crown. Within the domain, the small perfection blue-robed emperor would die one after another. They would not even have a chance to flee. No matter how many there were, Xiaochen did not fear the great perfection blue-robed emperor. If anyone wanted to fight him, they would have to consider the consequences. With the domain of the Neptune crown, the huge gap between Xiaochen and the great perfection blue-robed emperor narrowed significantly. In a clash, even if Xiaochen could not defeat the great perfection blue-robed emperor, he would be able to severely injure the other party and make them pay a painful price. Only the peak consummation blue-robed emperor would be somewhat problematic. However, as long as there were not 4 or 5 of them at once, Xiaochen could leave easily. The despair throne belonged to Xiaochen. No one could stop him. A domineering look flashed in Xiaochen's eyes as he put on the Neptune crown. Then, he pushed off the ground and headed for the sword mound. Xiaochen moved like a dragon, scattering the wind and clouds. At this moment, the aura of despair gathered in the sword mound had already materialized, turning into a black hurricane that howled in the air. When all the outstanding talents arrived and saw the black hurricane, they all took a deep breath. If they got hit by this hurricane, it would be very uncomfortable. They might even fall into an illusion, unable to extricate themselves. 3 cultivators wearing Taoist robes stood on the barren land filled with swords. When they saw the arriving outstanding talents, they smiled bitterly. How long had it been? They had just coincidentally found the treasure sword containing the source of despair, and blocked a few waves of attacks from the group of swords. Yet, they were surrounded by such a large group of people. Furthermore, all of them had frighteningly powerful backgrounds. They were not easy to deal with. I was wondering who it was. So it is the people of the Penglai Sea. After finding this source of despair, why are you still not moving? Do you think that you can take away such a treasure? The red-clad holy son of the 5 poison sect said rudely. The cultivators on both sides showed rage on their faces. Only the calm-looking white-robed cultivator in the middle said calmly, 5 poison sect? If I remember correctly, before the 5 poison sect's sect master advanced to sovereign martial emperor, his poison entered his body, seeping deep into his blood and marrow. If not for my master's help, he would have died long ago. The red-clad young master's expression froze. He exclaimed in shock. Your master is immortal venerate Yunqin? The white-robed cultivator smiled and said, that is my master. I am his 3rd disciple, Gongshanyu. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.